And welcome to the special edition of Hannity, Road to the White House. We're only 39 days away from the election, and Donald Trump continues to hammer Hillary Clinton for her very long history of corruption and scandal. Watch this.
The American people have had it with years and decades of Clinton corruption and scandals. Corruption and scandals. And impeachment for lying. Impeachment for lying. Remember that? Impeach. They're tired of the lies. They're tired of the trivial politics. They're tired of being talked down to, looked down upon, and treated like second-class citizens. And they're phenomenal people. You are phenomenal people. The Clintons are the sordid past. We will be the very bright and clean future.
Here now is former Speaker of the House, Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich. All right, 39 days to go. Again, different feels from people, especially as it relates to this Alicia Machado issue. Should Trump go back to the main focus, which is an economy that has disgraceful numbers of foreign policy failures, corruption and scandal like he's just doing there, and stay off of any of these side issues that Hillary's trying to drag him into?
You know, I've been trying to think about his style, and as you know, I'm very fond of him. I've worked very hard, and I really think it's vital for the country that he win and that Hillary Clinton be defeated. And when I've concluded that Steve Lawrence in Golden Rainbow on Broadway back in 1968 sang a key song, I've Gotta Be Me. And I think what Trump's got to understand is he's either got to sing I've Gotta Be Me or he's got to learn a new song, I've Gotta Be President. They're not the same song. He's got to become much more disciplined. For a while there, I thought he had really turned a corner. This last week, I think, has been, frankly, a lost week, a week which has hurt him, which has shaken his own supporters. And you can't tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning, period. There's no excuse ever, not if you're going to be president of the United States. So he's really got to decide, and I think it's very important to understand this. If he's got to be himself, then he may well not win. If he's willing to grow into the role of president, then he may win. In fact, I think he will win. The bigger the issues, the more he talks about raising taxes versus cutting taxes, killing jobs versus creating jobs, defending America versus letting in thousands and thousands of Syrian refugees. I mean, the big issues, he's going to win in a landslide. But if he stays down in the mud, the Clintons are the best mudders I've ever seen, and they'd be perfectly happy to wage the next 39 days in the mud because they know how to survive in mud.
It's interesting to point out, as we've seen, you know, I guess it is frustrating on a lot of levels because the Clintons have, you know, all the bimbo eruptions, all the smearing of women, all the money from Saudi Arabia and countries that mistreat women, kill gays and lesbians and persecute Christians and Jews. The double standard is frustrating. And watching as an observer, I'm frustrated. But he's the candidate. That's maybe something I would say, or you would say,
right,
as you know, in my case, a talk show host, and you as a former speaker.
Yeah, I mean, he has to present to the country for the next 39 days a methodical, strong, clear vision of of making America great again, to use his own slogan. And he needs to spend a lot more time preparing for this next debate because he only had Lester Holt in this last round. When you get somebody who is as opposed to him as he's going to have when they do that town hall meeting, Anderson Cooper is viscerally, deeply opposed to Donald Trump. I mean, this will be basically at least 3-on-1 with the two moderators plus Hillary. He's got to go into there having done what every professional athlete would do. Look at the game film of the last game. Figure out what you did wrong. Figure out what you've got to improve. And it can't be lackadaisical. He's got to decide that saving America and making America great again is worth his subordinating himself to the difficult process of becoming president of the United States. And that's very different than just being a candidate.
And in many ways, he had done that, especially in the last 6 weeks leading up to this week. You would agree with that?
Yeah, that's what makes...
So it's basically just going back to what he was doing.
I actually thought coming out of the debate he was fine. You know, I was on your show immediately afterwards. I thought strategically he was fine. And then the media, of course, had been set up in a way, and you and I didn't appreciate. This whole thing was an ambush. But the correct step there is to sidestep the ambush. Don't get sucked into it. all he had to say was, look, they want to make something out of a 20-year-old business decision. I want to create jobs. They want to talk about 20 years ago. I want to tell you how we're going to fix the economy. You just build a litany. You learn. You trained. You know, I didn't get to be a good debater by randomly doing it. It takes training. It takes thinking. It takes learning your own mistakes. Going, wow, I didn't know I did that. And so I really hope that this is a wake-up call for him. Quit tweeting without somebody looking over your shoulder. Don't ever tweet late at night. And prepare to really study and get ready for a serious debate, because this next debate's going to be very important for how people judge him and whether or not they think he's capable of being president.
In other words, will he make the adjustment? Look, I think, as far as I'm concerned, Hillary, she shot every bullet in her attack gun against Donald Trump. And he left a lot on the table, especially about emails and servers and lying and dishonesty and Benghazi and Obamacare and Iraq and Syria and ISIS and vetting refugees and immigration and a wall. There's a lot left here for him to bring up.
If you're
making that list, I think, would be important. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're doing great. Look, it's your show. But I'm excited to say this. Look, when you look at, get the transcript of the last minute and a half of the debate, where she goes on this huge detour to get this attack on Trump. She's being a professional debater. She knows what her message is. She's going to get it across no matter what. The key to these things is, if Anderson Cooper asks you something stupid, you say, gosh, that's a really interesting topic, and it reminds me that I wanted to talk about how we're going to create jobs, Anderson. I'm so glad you brought that up, because, you know, creating jobs is really important. But you don't let him define what the debate is. And you go back and look at my best debates in 2011 and 12, I consistently reframed the media and got to the topic I wanted to talk about, not the topic they wanted to talk about.
I will say this, you are one of the better debaters out there by far, and it led to a lot of success, and you did win an important primary in South Carolina as a result of some of those debates. You know, it is important. You know, for me, this is so substantive, and the differences are so profound. It is kind of sad on one level that if Hillary can robotically memorize lines written by others and deliver them, because she's been in politics, as you pointed out the other night, 46 years, not 30 years, that somehow that's viewed as presidential. And if somebody looks at that as superfluous and nonsensical in a way, in other words, we'll ignore the vetting of refugees issues, which their differences are deep and profound. Hillary's willing to gamble with people's lives. Trump is not. Trump is listening to our top intelligence officials. She is not. But people would more be interested in the style than the real substance. That's a little troubling to me, anyway.
But remember, because you're a conservative and you've been through this, I go all the way back to Reagan and the early days of the Reagan campaign for president. If she didn't have the elite media in the tank for her, she would be down. She'd be down at 30%. I mean, the only reason she's, but that's a fact. It's not a problem. What you do about it's a problem. Every conservative has to start out in the morning and say, I realize all the New York Times will oppose me, the Washington Post will oppose me, NBC, CBS, ABC. You go down the list. They're all going to be against me. Now, how do I design a campaign, and how do I go into a debate knowing that that's the bias? And it's like sailing and understanding you got to learn to tack. You never go straight into the wind, because you can't. So you got to figure out, how am I going to maneuver around these biases and turn it back on her? If she didn't have the elite media, given exactly what you just said, she would be losing by an enormous margin right now.
Really, really good advice. I hope people are listening. Thanks, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate it.
Right.
And coming up next on this special edition of Hannity.
Vote for Mr. Trump. Give yourselves that sense of peace. That's your children. This is the greatest man I have ever met.
Clinton campaign's trying to paint Trump as sexist, but our next guest, who knows him very well, says that's 100% not true. Wait till you hear this incredible story. Plus, Donald Trump continues to pound the campaign trail. Today, he was in the great state of Michigan. We're going to play highlights, and we'll speak with Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway. That and more straight ahead.
This is the greatest man I have ever met. His heart is made of pure gold. He saved me in so many ways and changed my world. Yes, he gave me a lot of gifts in my life. A gift of of compassion and showing my son how to pay it forward. But above that, if this man becomes president of the United States of America, he is going to give me the best gift ever, and that is, I'll know that when I leave this world, I won't be here to watch my son grow. But I'll know that he is going to grow up in a country that is safe.
Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. That was former Miss Wisconsin, Melissa Young. That was back in April, giving a very heartfelt endorsement to Donald Trump as she fights for her life. And while Hillary Clinton and her liberal cohorts are trying to paint Donald Trump as sexist, my next guests say that couldn't be further from the truth. Joining us now to explain, former Trump International Vice President Sanada Adzem is with us. Former Miss California, USA, Carrie Prejean-Bowler, and the woman you just heard from, former Miss Wisconsin, Melissa Young. Melissa, you're really fighting for your life even still. I had the honor of meeting you myself.
Yes, sir.
Tell us the story about you and Donald Trump and your health.
Yes, sir. You're correct. I am fighting for each and every day. And what happened was I stood on his stage when he owned the Miss Universe organization. I competed in the Miss USA pageant in 2005. Many years later, I became ill, and really in those darkest days of being sick in the hospital, and I have never told him this personally, but that morning the priest had come and read me my last rites, and that day an envelope was delivered to my room that said, "Must be delivered by 8 a.m. It was handwritten by Mr. Trump, and when it was opened, it was a letter saying, "To the bravest woman I know." And he wanted me to keep fighting. And in that moment, it sparked something in me that I realized, like, my purpose is to fight, and I need to get up and fight. And he really sparked such a wonderful.
Yeah, you have an 8-year-old
Yes,
little boy,
sir.
and your illness, your doctor says
I do.
You're fighting literally every day for your life. You don't know, well, what is the prognosis that they're telling you?
Right. Correct. There is no cure for me. My heart is now in the condition of a 90-year-old woman. And since the message is coming from my brain, the part of my brain that controls my autonomic nervous system, which is all of our automatic functions that we don't think about, like heart rate, blood pressure, all of those things, digestion, which explains the tube I have here, that part of my brain shut off like a light switch, and there's no way to manipulate the brain to tell it to turn back on. So I cannot get a new heart because it will send the same message to a new heart. So I have a heart in the condition of a 90-year-old woman, and I'm fighting each day, and I just had a blood clot removed less than 48 hours ago from my chest. And I'm here today because until my last breath, I will use this voice to speak up, to talk about who Mr. Trump really is. It is so important that this side of the story is told. He is the most wonderful man I have ever met.
Well, it's a pretty deep story, and you're in our thoughts and prayers, by the way, Melissa. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Carrie,
thank you for having me.
When you were under fire, and you were under heavy fire, I remember you at one point told me there was only 2 people in your universe that stood up for you as the world turned against you, and one of them was Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good to be with you, Sean. Thank you so much for having me on. And I just think Melissa's story, I mean, she's just such a woman of courage. She truly is amazing, and her bravery is so inspiring. So thank you, Melissa.
Wow.
Yeah, to answer your question, Sean, yes, Donald Trump was one of the only people that stood up for me and defended me. And I am so tired of the nonsense and the attacks against him. I mean, they are so desperate, Sean, that they are going to go at all lengths to try to destroy this man. This is a smear campaign to try and distract people from the real issues. And Donald Trump, this is the type of man that he is. Listen to Melissa, listen to her story, and listen to my story. He defended me. He stood up for me. He took every single one of my phone calls. He did not have to do that. This is a businessman who's running multiple businesses. He took every single one of my
he actually defended Alicia Machado, by the way. And you know,
right,
beyond
exactly.
the quote, he actually said it's a very tough position. And we were talking about beauty contests here, too. This is not...
Right.
Yeah.
Let's put it into context here, Sean.
Exactly.
I mean, let's not forget, this is a beauty contest. This is a contest that
Amen.
That hypes up, you know, how women look, and you know, part of it is walking on stage in a bikini, and God forbid, you know, some women might need to shed a few pounds, and some women might need to gain a few pounds.
My doctor called me fat a couple of years ago, so I started working out, and I lost some weight.
I mean, it's just sad that we're talking about this.
And Sean,
it's just
in 20 years, Sean, you should come forward and say something about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I should.
In about
I'm going to yell at my doctor. I'm going to call him out on national TV. Sonata, you're in a different position because you work for Donald Trump. And you worked on his biggest projects, you were vice president, and you hear these attacks. What do you say to people, because you know him?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say to people to listen to amazing, inspiring women like Melissa, and I can relate. I faced that many times, and she's truly not just a beautiful woman inside and out, but she is such an impactful, inspiring woman. Based on my experience, I worked at Trump International from 2003 until 2007. I can tell you that he's a very tough businessman, but he's very fair. He gave women the same opportunities that he gave to men, and you had to prove yourself. You had to work really, really hard.
And Carrie, when you compare how Hillary and her husband treat women, and the media doesn't cover it, and, you know, I'm going to crucify Jennifer Flowers and about Monica Lewinsky, a narcissistic Looney Tune, that never gets covered by the media, does it? And not only that, the allegations of Kathleen Willey and Juanita and Paula Jones, etc.
Right. Right, and let's not forget, she spent over $100,000 bullying these women who didn't deserve it. So if she's such a, you know, advocate of women and their rights and supporting women, why was she tearing these women down? She should have been building them up and believing their story, like she says we all should.
Yeah. All right, guys, I want to thank you all for sharing your stories. It gives something the media won't do. And let's give another side of the story. And Melissa, you especially, and all of you, you're in our thoughts and prayers.
Thank you.
And we wish you the very best every day, and the best to your son also. Thank you. And coming up, we have highlights from Donald Trump's rally earlier tonight in Michigan. His campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway, will join us next. Plus, First Lady Michelle Obama has been trying to rally Hillary Clinton supporters, but does she really, what does she really think about her? We'll show you some tape. Kimberly Guilfoyle, Doug Schoen, they weigh in on that and more on the special edition of Hannity. Welcome back to the special edition of Hannity. Road to the White House. Donald Trump has been hitting the campaign trail hard all week. Earlier today, the GOP hopeful was in Michigan and held a rally. Here are some of those highlights.
We're going to win the state of Michigan. We're going to win the White House, and it's going to be an awfully good November 8th. That evening is going to be a celebration. It's time, by the way, to rebuild Detroit. We're going to rebuild Detroit. It's time to rebuild Michigan, and we're not letting them take your jobs out of Michigan any longer. And it's time to rebuild the United States of America. We're going to do it. Our country is going to be greater than ever before. We're going to be the smart country again. The people of this country are tired of the lies. They're tired of trivial politics. They're tired of being talked down to, looked down upon, and treated like second-class citizens. This will finally be the year that the American people say, enough is enough.
And a brand new national Fox News poll just released today shows in a four-way matchup, Clinton and Trump are now neck and neck. There is a 3-point difference within the margin of error. Joining us now with a reaction is the Trump campaign manager, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, good to see you.
Hi, Sean.
You know, one of the things Newt said that I thought was pretty smart, enlightening, bright guy, is I understand Mr. Trump's frustration with an abusively biased media. They're never going to tell the story of the smearing, the slandering, the besmirching, the bimbo eruptions, and all of these issues. There'll always be a double standard. And what he was suggesting is that Mr. Trump subordinate his personal feelings to the larger message, which is, here are our differences on Supreme Court justices, on vetting refugees, on saying radical Islam, on building a wall, on education back to the states, on energy independence, on repealing Obamacare. What do you think?
I agree completely in that, look, Hillary Clinton cannot run on her record. Okay, she's got this bad conundrum where she could be held accountable for what's a really unremarkable record in the United States Senate. I think there are 3 bills passed with her name on it. I know she sponsored other ones, but go and look at the information. She has a very checkered record as Secretary of State, and yet she doesn't have the benefit of incumbency. So if you actually make a contrast between her views and yours, her vision and yours, and you hold her to account on women, Sean, how many thousands of women has Donald Trump employed over his career? They've been compensated, they've been respected, they've elevated throughout the ranks of the Trump Corporation, many of them. They occupy some of the highest levels.
Well, we just had some of the women on that have either worked for him or that he has treated so nicely, and it's a very different story of what the Clintons will spin or the media will spin.
That's right. And Sean, as everyone knows, watch what I do, not what I say, when it comes to how you treat people. And the point is that he has been very good to women throughout his life as a non-politician. Secondly, the Clinton Foundation takes money from all of these countries where women and girls are not treated with respect. They don't have basic rights. Millions of dollars have gone into the Clinton Foundation. And I think the frustration is all the incomplete coverage. We don't hear anything about the 5 people who have taken immunity as connected to the FBI investigation, the email scandal. Cheryl Mills took immunity and then acted as her attorney in the same investigation. So there's a great deal of frustration about what's covered, but I agree. You take the case, you take the issue set to Hillary Clinton, and you win. And that's also why she didn't really talk about issues the other night when she got the microphone. She got through that 5 or 6 point checklist of things she wanted to make sure that she was going to say. They're there to talk about issues, and she's yelling, "Squirrel!" And then, of course, making a big deal of it afterward.
Yeah, because I do think this is what the election, at the end of the day, I think people are going to look at, okay, the economy is not good. We have 12 million more Americans on food stamps, 8 million more in poverty, the worst recovery since the 40s, lowest home ownership rate in 51 years, lowest labor participation rate in the 70s. That is huge. And then if you look at a record in Benghazi, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, the Russian reset, supporting the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, China's territorial ambitions, the North Korea's nuclear ambitions, nothing has really gotten better, nothing has been solved. And I think that was a good point that Donald Trump made at the debate the other night. 30 years, all talk, no action. Right. What have you done? But that's not what she wants to talk about. And it seems the media wants to stay focused on this former Miss whatever that was, threatened to kill the judge, that lady.
And Sean, look, when Donald Trump did say at the debate, a very strong moment for him, and something that won't change between now and November 8th, who represents the past, who represents the future, who represents change in Washington in a very disruptive outsider way with business experience, and who represents more of the same. So if you are one of the 70% of Americans who tells pollsters you want to take this country in a new and different direction, your choice is clear. And I'm really struck by your new Fox News poll, Sean, that the ballot is still tight. People, if you listen to the pundits about Monday night, Hillary Clinton should be at 82% by now and 110% among women, and she's not. She's still well below 50 in your Fox News poll. Why? Because people already know her. Their minds about her representing the status quo and having this very checkered and underwhelming record, that they know that doesn't change over the course of a 90-minute debate. The other thing that struck me in the Fox News poll are the attributes and the positions on who can handle these issues better. These two voters are really tied, whereas in past presidential contests, there was more of a gulf between the Democratic and Republican candidate in terms of who do you trust more on this issue. And most of those in your poll, they're within the margin of error or really close to it. So this is a real contest. We have a lot of days to go. She practices for moments. Donald Trump's out there in the stump every day. Today in Michigan, people standing in the pouring rain for hours to get into his rally, and then he talked about her globalist policies and the fact that he's got a very patriotic message to, quote, make America safe and prosperous and great again. It will come down to that in the end. All right, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Kellyanne, I know you're working hard. As always, thanks for taking time to be with us. We appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. Now, has Michelle Obama always thought this highly of Hillary Clinton? Remember when the now First Lady said this back in 2007.
One of the important aspects of this race is role modeling what good families should look like. And my view is that if you can't run your own house, you certainly can't run the White House. Can't do it.
All right, joining us now with reaction, former Clinton pollster, Fox News contributor, and author of Putin's Master Plan, Doug Schoen, and the co-host, of course, of the hit show The Five, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Well, I think it's pretty clear when you say, well, you can't be in the White House if you can't keep your own house. Pretty harsh treatment. Which Michelle should we believe, though? The one then or the one now?
I mean, the irony, right? The irony. Hillary Clinton, who conducted her own war on women with her scandal-plagued
bimbo
husband.
Eruptions.
Unbelievable, treating women abusively in that way. And then also, you see, this is somebody that people are supposed to look up to and admire. This is somebody who would put the White House, the Oval, for sale, like they did the Clinton Foundation with influence peddling and getting involved in businesses that are state sponsors of Sharia and terrorism, the countries that commit acts of violence against gays, against women, against minorities. So why is this somebody to be admired, to be revered, that should be in the White House? Michelle Obama didn't think so before.
Yeah. You know, Doug, on first glance, I know as a political strategist, you would probably say, stay focused on the issues.
Absolutely.
First thing. But here's a problem for the Clintons. Every time they think they're scoring on the issue like of women, it boomerangs back. Because now Juanita Broderick is talking. Now Paula Jones is talking. Now Kathleen Willey is talking.
Sure.
Now we bring up Saudi Arabia and the mistreatment of women and the money that they gave the Clintons.
Sean, I was one of Bill Clinton's closest advisors in the White House in 1998 during the Lewinsky scandal. And all that happened to his approval ratings is they went steadily up because people focused on his leadership in the economy, not
Did that surprise you at the time?
It didn't surprise me because people care about their lives. You and I have talked about this. If Donald Trump wants to run against Alicia Machado and not Hillary Clinton, I can tell you, whatever your feelings about the Secretary of State, she will be our next president. And I can say, for those who want Donald Trump to be president, talk about the economy, talk about corruption, and change most of all, and get off this stuff because it doesn't help Donald Trump.
Isn't it the type of thing that people like I would bring up as a talk show host, or Kimberly, who gives her opinions every day?
Sure.
Isn't it more what we would do to bring context to people rather than a candidate?
Absolutely. What you and Kimberly talk about.
And what do you talk about in fairness?
And I'm happy to talk about if
opinion
in fact,
shows.
But let me be very clear.
On an opinion show?
As cogent.
Wait a minute, I'm not a journalist. They keep writing that I'm a journalist. I keep telling them I am a talk host.
But you're also a strategist who understands no matter what her vulnerabilities may be, if there's an election to be won, you win it by talking about the issues people care about.
Okay, so he pivots back. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that he's so strong on the economy, on jobs, on creating infrastructure, restoring safety in communities, on national security. There's so many things that you can hit Hillary on, and the polling shows that she is very weak-kneed when it comes to the email scandal. That is something that he can definitely hit her on. I wouldn't get distracted by some of these other issues. I get it. He doesn't let anybody land a punch. He's always wanting to counterpunch. But now, just be surgical, be strategic. You know, you've got what you want in your sight.
And let his team surrogates or
like
talk show hosts that have strong opinions like us and Doug, you know, we can give opinions on this, and at least that would inform. I do believe there's an entire generation that don't know Juanita Broderick's story, Kathleen Willey's story, Paula Jones' story. I mean, exposing himself, groping, fondling, grabbing, kissing against her will, and an allegation of rape, and more importantly, the smearing that took place afterwards. That's a big story.
My best advice
is him stay away from it.
Is that the Trump campaign should talk to millennials about the economy, the weak economy of Barack Obama, and not get into these extraneous issues which really don't concern how people are going to vote.
All right.
Excellent advice. She doesn't have a strong economy to fall back on.
She doesn't. She doesn't.
Guys. Good to see you both, and
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here. And coming up next on this special edition of Hannity.
Oh, is the media dishonest? How dishonest are these people? Just think, how dishonest. Unbelievable.
Donald Trump calling out the mainstream media for their abusively biased coverage. We'll check in with Sheriff David Clark and former Governor Mike Huckabee. They are here next on this busy news night. Straight ahead. And welcome back to the special edition of Hannity, Road to the White House. Now, this week, many liberals in the mainstream media have been trashing Donald Trump, and in return, Trump fires back. Take a look.
Oh, is the media dishonest? How dishonest are these people? Just think, how dishonest. Unbelievable. Not all, but a big, big fat percentage.
Our campaign
is taking on big business and big media and big donors. We're taking them on for you. The failed politicians and the arrogant media don't want me to talk about the crime and the violence that's happening in this country. We're trying to disrupt the collusion between the wealthy donors, large corporations, and the media executives, who are among the most honest people anywhere that I have met.
Joining us now with reaction, former 2016 Republican presidential candidate, former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, as well as Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. You know, I look at, Governor, you've dealt with a corrupt media. Sheriff, you've dealt with a corrupt media. I've dealt with it my whole life also. It's all true, but as Newt said earlier in the program, you've got to factor that in. It's just a reality that is never going to change. Right, Governor?
Well, that's exactly right, Sean. I mean, you wake up every day, and the first thing you got to do when you look in the mirror is to say, the media will never be my friend. And Donald Trump has to understand they're never going to be for him. They're always going to be against him. But it doesn't hurt him with the people, because most people don't have any faith in the media. They have the lowest approval rating that they've ever had in history, and people don't trust the media any more than they trust Hillary. Let Trump focus on those two facts. What he said in that little clip you played, that was exactly how to handle it. Tie the media to the same frustrations that people have about the way this system is rigged, and that's how he overcomes it. But don't dignify them. Don't give them place by giving too much attention to them, because they don't deserve that kind of attention from him.
You know, and Sheriff, look at the death and destruction in Obama's home city of Chicago. You know, there is something really radically wrong that a president will talk about Cambridge, Trayvon, Ferguson, and Baltimore, but ignore 3,000 shot this year, nearly 4,000 killed since he's been president in his own hometown, and nobody in America knows their names. Isn't that a media that only goes with a president's narrative, ignoring real death and destruction, not telling the true story?
Sure, they're covering for him. You know, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Look, the liberal mainstream media is dwindling into irrelevancy, Sean, and you know that. Donald Trump understands that this is a dragon that has to be slayed. The liberal mainstream media, these rags, realize that this is their last stand to have any influence over the American public as it relates to presidential politics. And Donald Trump, it's a thing of beauty, continues to play the or employ a strategy of Muhammad Ali rope-a-dope. The media is pounding away, throwing everything they got like George Foreman was, and every once in a while Donald Trump looks up, he smiles, and he says, is that all you got? And at some point, it's going to be November 8th, the American public is going to fire back and finish them off. Donald Trump is going to win this election, and the liberal mainstream media, I want to make that clear, they know that, and I'm telling you right now, they are scared as hell.
Governor, and that then comes to strategy for Donald Trump. There are deep, profound differences that will have a dramatic impact on this country based on who gets elected. Everything from the Supreme Court to vetting refugees, to protecting our borders, to eliminating Obamacare, to balancing a budget, to lowering taxes, you know, to energy independence, to education. These are profound, deep differences. To what extent does Donald Trump have to balance that agenda and point out the distinct change he's offering versus dealing with falsehoods and attacks?
Well, I think he's got to focus on the differences that he and Hillary Clinton bring. Look, one of the things a president does that's most powerful is employ people and appoint people. Who will Hillary appoint to the EPA? What will they do to the fossil fuel industry? What will they do to the cost of a tank of gasoline, or the cost of heating oil, or the cost of natural gas? That's going to be a huge difference. Who's going to be a champion for people getting manufacturing jobs back that pay decent wages? Who's going to protect the home of our country against people coming in who are not vetted? Who's really going to enforce our immigration laws? Those are the things that Donald Trump is
so as long as he's getting that message out,
with Hillary on.
And the comparing and contrasting of what the future will look like under her and under him, that's key?
I think it's absolutely the key. And if he just continues to pound away at that, look, it's very obvious that there's a difference between Hillary Clinton having used government as her own ATM to take cash out, doing favors for foreign governments, who in turn then gave money to the Clinton Foundation. Corruption is rampant. But in addition to the dishonesty that she brings to this, it's the philosophical vent that she comes with that would be devastating to this country and to the deplorable and irredeemable people that she has no respect for.
You're deplorable. We're all in the basket of deplorables. Sheriff, you're in the basket with us.
Yeah, I'm right there. Look, Donald Trump has created a great vision for America. You know, make America great again. Every American can see that. They can envision that. He's talking about defeating radical Islamic terror. He's talking about reducing crime and violence in all American cities for all American, but particularly in the American ghetto. And he's talking about kickstarting this economy to put people back to work again. Those are things that affect us here at ground level. I know the Beltway, the bubble in the Beltway, those people are disconnected. The Congress, the Washington politicians, the media elite, they're all disconnected. But we down here at ground level, we know what we want, and it's Donald Trump's vision for America.
All right, thank you both for being with us. When we come back, we have a very important question of the day as this special edition of Hannity continues straight ahead. All right, time for our question of the day as we continue on the special edition of Hannity. Should Hillary Clinton apologize to her husband's accusers? Why? For the way she treated them and her surrogates treated them. And, oh, I'll crucify Jennifer Flowers and James Carville, drag $1 through a trailer park, and, of course, all the other things that were said about all the other women. Let's go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. That's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. We'll be back Monday, 36 days to go until Election Day. It's getting interesting. Have a great weekend.
Donald Trump is about to take the podium at a rally in Michigan. The state Hillary Clinton lost to Bernie Sanders in the primaries. We're waiting for that. We'll take some of that. The Republican nominee's been working to counter attacks from all fronts this week. He has a lot of powerful enemies looking to take him down. The Clintons, the mainstream media, even the UN, that body's official news service, actually put out a tweet calling on millions of Americans abroad not to vote for Trump. It was deleted about 20 minutes later, and some sort of excuse was being made. Meanwhile, another big newspaper has decided to go after Trump, this time USA Today taking a side in a presidential race for the first time in its 34-year history, calling Trump unfit for the presidency. He, of course, won't be taking that to heart. He never trusted the media anyway.
Oh, is the media dishonest? How dishonest are these people? How dishonest? Unbelievable. Not all, but a big, big fat percentage.
Well, remember how Trump took flack from the media for this week for saying he was given a defective microphone at the debate? Well, guess what? 4 days later, the debate commission just today admitted it was actually true, saying there were issues regarding Donald Trump's audio that affected the sound level in the debate hall. So, a lot to unpack. KG,
okay, yeah.
Composed?
What are you laughing about?
No, I can't tell, remember?
Can I talk about it?
Sure,
no, you.
Sure. You're supposed not to.
I thought you were not supposed to.
Anyway, so we have USA Today, we have the debate, we have the tweets. What do you want to start with? Any of them?
Whatever you like.
All right, let's start with the USA Today.
Lead off.
USA Today is saying in the first time in their 34-year history they were going to recommend not voting for somebody.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, that's what this country is founded on. First Amendment principles, people being able to give their voice, their opinion, to say they want to support a candidate, to say they would not like to support a candidate. You know, so you're going to see this happen. But then, of course, you see with Trump, he's going to hit them back and say, ha-ha, and now you're going to lose subscribers. So this is the way the cycle works, and it's a free market, and people can choose to buy, to subscribe, or not, based on their ideology or political persuasion, and maybe sometimes those things pass because you may actually miss the paper.
All right, Juan, can I stay on that with you for a little bit? I noticed that the USA Today is Gannett Publishing, right?
Yes, sir.
Same with the Arizona Republic, the one that also said that they recommend Hillary. I think they went so far as saying they recommend Hillary for the first time, or a Democrat. Any link there? Publishing?
No.
Parent company says we're against it?
No. I think they all have independent editorial boards. I think the key here is you have people increasingly saying, you know what, Trump has a chance to win, and we think he's a danger to the country. And so I think people are speaking from principle, and you see it now across political lines. People who are conservatives as well as people who are liberals saying this. And the news this week has been the number of conservative editorial boards who are willing to stand up and say, you know what, we know that there are folks who are big Trump fans who may cancel on us or whatever, but we are not going to stand by at this moment in history and allow the country to fall into the hands of a demagogue. Now, what's interesting to me is Trump this morning goes on a Twitter storm, and he's back into the fat fight, right, with the Miss Universe. But I think in a way, again, this is Trump media strategy. You know, he just says, you know what, let's focus on this, as opposed to all the scandals with his foundation that he didn't have a permit to raise money with Cuba, where he's doing business, where it's illegal, and nobody pays any attention.
We'll get to all that stuff in the next 58 minutes. Staying with the media, staying with the newspapers, do you see the Chicago Tribune backed Gary Johnson?
Yeah, there's a
the
few
day
papers.
After,
Oh,
he can't
Aleppo.
name one.
Yeah.
Forget Aleppo.
Yeah. It's like
name one world leader.
It's like throwing away your endorsement. It would be one thing, sort of like USA Today, which is never endorsed. This is unusual for them. It might be, if you're going to endorse Johnson, you might as well just maybe just say we're not going to have anyone to recommend, especially after that. But the thing for Trump that might work in his favor in this regard is, so you mentioned, so the media is unpopular. The UN is feckless and ridiculous in his mind, right? And then the Clintons are not liked. So he's not trying to persuade any of those people anyway. He's actually trying to beat them. And one of the things you saw in Michigan a couple of hours ago, where Trump is going to be speaking, we're going to take it to you live when he comes up, but people stood in line for hours in the pouring rain in order to see him. So he's actually, I wouldn't worry too much about all of these things. Like, the UN's never going to be for a Republican president. They're always going to be for the Clintons. The media has largely, probably on the editorial page, is not going to be for him. So he's actually, for the most part, doing a lot better than you would have if you were just a regular Joe Republican.
Dana, also, because remember we were talking about he's the outsider candidate. So that he's not getting those endorsements by those big papers.
But then it is significant that there's history being made by some of these papers, like Arizona Republic and then USA Today making that decision.
All right, Greg, Dana points out the UN tweeted 8 million, I think 8 million people abroad it would have affected if they listened to the UN. But Dana also astutely points out most Republicans don't really listen to it.
Can I interrupt you?
I haven't spoken yet, so sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Can we just mention that they said they were hacked?
Yeah. All right. But I think he should put I think this would be a perfect fact for a Trump ad. I mean, when the UN comes out against you, they don't do the same for genocidal maniacs and misogynist, homophobic jihadists. So you should consider it a feather in your cap when the UN, it's like the UN insulting you is like David Duke calling you a bigot. It actually works in your favor. By the way, I got this complaining about the media. Donald Trump got $2 billion of free media in this election. He bragged about having never to get TV ads because he had us. He had cable news. Cable news took care of it. And the media loves him. The media wants him to be president because it's good for their ratings. May not be great for the country, but boy, you can make a lot of money off his unpredictability. Lastly, the microphone thing is a bunch of baloney because he even said the first 30 minutes of the debate were the best 30 minutes. And I agreed. He was excellent when there was a malfunction. Maybe the malfunction should have been the entire debate. If the mic was bad, he could have won the debate.
No, I remember. I was in that debate hall, and it was.
But he sounded perfect at home.
Right. There's no question it went out equally as the same volume to the TV public. But in there, everyone's like, "What? We can't hear what?" And that could be a bit throw you off your game a little bit.
But that was the best part. That was when he was on his game.
It was really only about 5 or 7 minutes. I think they cleared it up.
And he was great during it.
All right, let's do this. As Juan mentioned, Trump fired off a lot of tweets this morning regarding his feud with Miss Universe. He's gotten a lot of pushback. This afternoon, he put out another tweet to hit back. He says, quote, "For those few people knocking me for tweeting at 3 o'clock in the morning, at least you know I'll be there awake to answer the call." And that's a clever response referring to Clinton's missed 3 a.m. call from Benghazi. So, Juan?
Well, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like, wow. You think that the guy made a mistake by getting into this. I think we've all said, and I think even you, that he fell into a trap, that she set him up, Hillary Clinton, when she had Miss Universe in the audience.
I said Lester Holt set him up.
Well, I don't think Lester Holt had Miss Universe in the audience.
I'm just telling you what I said.
Okay, no, I thought, okay, but I mean, we agree. It looked like Hillary Clinton really put a trap there and said, "Go ahead, step right in the hole, Donald Trump," and he stepped in the hole. Then afterwards, even as people were debating how he'd done during the debate, he went off on this riff about women who are really a difficult group for him as voters anyway, and now he continues. I mean, to me, I don't understand, but it seems like he can't control. And doesn't he sleep, Eric? 3 o'clock in the morning.
Don't hate on people that don't sleep. I like it. So I can have something to do.
Has anyone ever tweeted anything that they were happy about at 3 o'clock in the morning?
No, nothing good happens after midnight.
It's like the Chris Rock line about if you're going to the ATM at 1 a.m., it's for bad things. And there's no good tweet at 3. But this goes back to the fact we mentioned all of his enemies, the media, the UN, USA Today, and all this. His biggest enemy is himself. If he just gets out of the way of himself, you know, Hillary set this thing up. They had the ads ready. They had the conference call. They knew through the psych ops that they had done that this is what was going to set him off, and it did. And it's like I said it before. He has a weight problem. He just can't wait it out. If he just ignored this stuff, it would have been great. But he can't. Twitter is his safety zone, and if you really like Trump, you shouldn't enable him. You know, his biggest supporters should be telling him, lay off.
Well, and they had for quite a while.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe last night he snuck into wherever they were hiding the black
He's got a backup phone.
He's a burner.
They really should make him put the phones and the laptops in a box and lock it.
I liked John Podesta, the Clinton campaign chairman. He said, I'm often up that time. They're the same age. And he said, I'm often up that time of night, but as well.
For other reasons.
But don't pick up the phone when you have to go.
KG?
Maybe they ordered one of those Hillary Clinton special Blackberries. He got one off of eBay. He's hiding it.
All right.
Maybe.
Okay. Very good. Perhaps. All right, let's do this. Let's see if Trump he still hasn't approached the podium. If he does,
Rudy.
we're going to bring it. Rudy's still there. He's well, look at that.
Rudy really pulling on some imaginary things.
So we'll do this, and hopefully we get back, and Mr. Trump will be at the podium. We'll take a listen. Next, Hillary Clinton's actively trying to connect with millennial voters. Will it work? And later. It's Facebook Friday. Post your questions for us now on our Facebook, facebook.com/the5FNC, and we'll be right back.
The nation's largest generation, nearly 90 million, are now of voting age, but will they turn out on Election Day, and for whom? There's concern, particularly by Democrats, about the millennial vote. Third-party candidates Johnson and Stein are losing ground with the youth as the election nears, as you'll learn on the podcast I have with Chris Darwalt. He explains that whole thing. And the Clinton team enlisted help from Bernie Sanders this week and put out this new millennial-friendly ad titled Squad Goals. All right, they just introduced Trump, and so we're going to get back to that in a second. Can I ask you quickly, Juan, do you think that one of the reasons Hillary has having a hard time with millennials is that Bernie Sanders spoke so harshly about her for so many months and was so popular with them, so it's hard for them to turn around on that?
You know, I thought Bernie didn't speak harshly about her, but it was that Bernie Sanders was speaking to the issue that really burns with millennials, which is big business, Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, that kind of theme, and he really pumped into that and into the debt, the student debt. Those are issues that drive them. Hillary Clinton's been late to the game on it.
Did you like that? I thought the ad sounded upbeat and kind of fun.
I would love to be in the meeting where all the wonks discuss how to make something look hip, quick cuts, brash graphics, you know, a good beat, and in the middle you have, you know, BS, which is Bernie Sanders. The key insult to pandering to young people is that you have to expect them to be dumb. You're expecting them to prefer hip celebrities over actual issues. Right. So that's why they look for celebrities. And squad goals, that sounds like a painful exercise.
I didn't like that title. I didn't really understand that. I think we're going to hear from Donald Trump in just a second. But Johnson and Stein, their numbers have been good. They're dropping. But we do have Donald Trump now, so we're going to save that for right after he speaks.
Thank you. It is so great to be back in Michigan. A state I've come to know and love during this campaign. You know, we won Michigan, and that was a great, big, fat, beautiful victory. You know that, right? And I've been talking about Michigan for a long time. We can't let them take your car industry out or your industry out of your state any longer. Not going to happen. I'm going to fight so hard for all of you, and I'm going to bring back the jobs that have been stripped away from you and from our country. In 39 days, 39 days, can you imagine? This started off, we were a long ways away, and some people didn't give us a good chance. They said, Mr. Trump, the other day, one of the biggest people in that business, the very dishonest press business, they said, Mr. Trump, when you started off, you have to tell me the truth. Did you really think you'd be here? I said, what the hell do you think I'm doing this for? Right? No, we expected to be here. And we're all here together. It's a movement. And believe me, we're all here together. We're going to take our country back. We're going to win the state of Michigan. We're going to win the White House, and it's going to be an awfully good November 8th. That evening is going to be a celebration. We're going to take on the special interests, the lobbyists, and the powerful politicians that have stolen your jobs through theft and incompetence. They've stolen your wealth. They've taken your middle class. We're going to take on the arrogant, corrupt corporate media that have enabled the global theft of American prosperity. A theft that has left behind crumbling schools, roads, bridges, and a totally depleted military. We have the greatest people in the world in our military. We're going to rebuild our military. This is when we need it. It's time, by the way, to rebuild Detroit. We're going to rebuild Detroit. It's time to rebuild Michigan, and we're not letting them take your jobs out of Michigan any longer. And it's time to rebuild the United States of America. We're going to do it. Our country is going to be greater than ever before. We're going to be the smart country again. Hillary Clinton has made a living raking in donations from special interests that have raided our factories and ripped the jobs right out of Michigan and every other state. That's how she gets rich. By taking your jobs and your money away from you and away from your state. That's why Hillary Clinton, if she ever got the chance, would 100% approve the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The deal she lied about the other night, when I said she called it the gold standard, she said no. Guess what? She called it the gold standard, and Lester Holt didn't correct her. I wonder why. The Trans-Pacific Partnership will economically devastate Michigan, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and so many other states all across this country. It will be devastating also for Ohio. Hillary Clinton's donors want the TPP, and their wish will be her command. That's what it is. These special interests pay her for speeches. And she's not a good speaker. Not a good speaker. They pay her a lot of money. You know, we have thousands of people here today. There are thousands and thousands of people outside trying to get in. Thousands.
All right, you've been listening to Donald Trump, and he's right. People stood in the rain for hours, thousands of them, to get in there to see that rally. We're going to bring it back to the 5 right after this break. This election has certainly been intense. We could all use some laughs right around now. And, of course, we saw Kimberly Guilfoyle let us in that earlier. But next, we're going to have Saturday Night Live do the trick. Because tomorrow, when it returns for season 42, it's got a surprise new cast member playing Trump. We're going to tell you who next. And Facebook Friday still to come. Don't go away.
Mr. Trump is the real-life inspiration for Iron Man. Who am I? I'm his publicist, Joey Pepperoni. No, I'm not Donald Trump in disguise.
The New York City subway is the best way to get around. Yeah, it's been a while. I'll just going the old-fashioned thing.
So now you're laughing. I love it.
That's happened to me.
Yeah. Saturday Night Live knows how to lampoon presidential races, and a lot of fans are anxiously awaiting the show's return tomorrow for season 42. The talented Kate McKinnon will reprise her role as Hillary Clinton. But Trump, guess what? He's not going to be played by Daryl Hammond anymore. That's canceled. Ready for this? Alec Baldwin will be sporting his best Trump impersonation this season. Greg, does this please you? I see a little cat-like smile on your face.
I thought that Hammond was great as Trump, and I'm sure Alec Baldwin will be good, but Trump is really his best impersonator because he's such an iconic figure that only he can be him. You don't need impersonators. But SNL will claim to hit both sides. So let's let you show this. They'll go after Trump, and they'll go after Hillary, but the content is different. Trump will be seen as some kind of evil, diabolical clown, and Hillary will be seen as some kind of benign, robotic nerd who knows all the facts. So they say they'll be balanced, but you'll know who. There's an agenda. This is an agenda-driven show.
There you go. Dana, what do you think?
Well, Republicans never fare well in the general election on Saturday Night Live. They just don't. Trump, I agree, he's funniest when he's being himself, and he can be a little self-deprecating when he goes like on Fallon's show. It's very funny. I do wonder who is going to play Alicia Machado. That is a skit that they didn't plan to have, and it will be highly anticipated. And I think it's fraught with a lot of politically incorrectness.
And is it going to make the situation better
I don't
or
know.
worse? We don't know. Bowling, you've been waiting for the moment for them to do the 5 on there.
Oh, my God.
We
Don't ask for that. I would never ask for that.
We heard there. Fallon, can Alec Baldwin do as good of a Trump as Fallon? I think he's probably the best out there. I don't. Maybe he will. But don't forget something else, though. Trump goes on Saturday Night Live a lot. He's hosted that show quite a bit over the years as well. So maybe they won't. Maybe they'll be fair. Maybe they might just take equal shots at both of them. What was that?
Oh, my mic wire was showing, so I'm trying to get it.
Our robot wires are becoming exposed. This is
someone
the problem.
talking in your ear, telling you what to say, Dana? Is that what
you were making hand signals to Juan.
Tuck your mic in. I'm like, what? I'm like, what? And then that's why.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay. So,
Friday
Juan,
show.
what do you think? Is this a good call? I think Alec Baldwin has no problem kind of getting in people's faces and getting after it. I think it's going to be like a cathartic role for him.
So apparently Tina Fey recommended Alec Baldwin for this role. And I just don't see it because I thought Daryl Hammond had the kind of face, his face and his gestures. So I'm interested to see what comes of it. But I must say, in terms of the criticism at this table, your favorite phrase from me, you know what? I think that they should be very direct, and I think lambast Trump. I think he, in some sense, opens himself to this at every turn.
But okay, easy fodder. But Hillary is, come on.
Well,
but
the
no,
other thing
that's
is
a false equivalency, Greg.
The other thing is
what's the equivalence between, like, what newspapers recently have been criticized because they're now calling Trump outright liar. They say this. New York Times prints liar, right? Lie.
Hillary doesn't lie, does she?
That's the way I was getting to on the equivalency. I think there's some people on the Republican side who say, well, you know, they both have their problems, you know, Hillary and her email one, you know, and I think there's no equivalency. When PolitiFact weighs their lies, it's like, here's Trump and here's Hillary.
Well, I think that's true, that you could actually make a pretty fun thing, have a James Comey character, like, talking about Hillary's lies on the FBI investigation, the emails.
But that would make everybody in the audience uncomfortable.
Alec Baldwin knows what it's like to put out a tweet that gets ridiculed. So in some ways, he might be a little bit more closer to it than Hammond.
Guys, is it a good idea, yes or no, for them to go back on as themselves? Have Hillary appear, have Trump before the election, yes or no?
Probably not, because how much time do you have left? You
5
know?
weeks.
Yeah,
they
5
could get it
weeks.
done. They could get it
9
done.
days.
I say yes.
Good math.
Dana, what do you think?
I'm counting. I would not do it if I were the Republican. I think Hillary Clinton would probably be fine, but I just feel like the conservative always ends up with the short end of the stick at this point in the election.
Which conservative?
It's just too risky. I think it's too risky.
I think he can, I think, remember when he did Hotline Bling?
Yeah.
He did a nice job with it. I'd like to see him, especially if they, I assume Kate McKinnon won't be Hillary on the same show. Was it?
But do you remember when he was mad at,
remember
when he was, well, the story goes that he was very frustrated when President Obama was making fun of him at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, and I just feel like if Trump, he needs to stay in the game in terms of focusing on Hillary, taking time off to prepare to be on Saturday Night Live and the risk of that when the election is this close, I just wouldn't take that risk if I were those guys.
You know, that previous segment got cut short. We were talking about millennials and her need to do more with the millennials. I don't think it's the case that he's going to do better with millennials. The question is whether they get excited about Trump. So
he can keep her
Saturday
numbers
Night
down.
Live actually could help her.
But Trump has a lot of millennials that probably don't watch Saturday Night Live.
Nobody watches TV anymore.
Yeah. Don't say that, Dana. This is our life.
Stream it online. I know, Dana.
I got a mortgage.
Jeez, the 5. We are recession-proof. Stay right there because Facebook Friday, hard-hitting news segment, up next.
Yes, Facebook Friday. We answer your questions. Okay, Kimberly, you're up first. This is from Sandra S. What posters were on your wall when you were 12?
Oh. 12 years old was probably, I think I had one Kiss poster.
Wow, really?
Nice. Edgy. I'm edgy. You didn't know that.
Yeah.
And also, I had, like, I know, like Sean Cassidy.
Of course.
I mean, you know, you had
Who
to.
didn't?
Huh?
I had 3 older sisters.
Right.
We had every Cassidy.
I was like, yeah, who else did I like? Oh, I liked Christian Slater.
Ah, well, there you go. Poor man's Jack Nicholson. Hey, Juan.
Do you know that he can sing Frank Sinatra? He sang it to me one time.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, fine.
You mean personally?
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
Juan.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I don't remember having posters so much. Sometimes I would like cut silly things out of the paper.
Right.
Like, in fact, I saw other day somebody was celebrating Willie Mays' catch, over his head in the Polo Grounds. And I think I had something like that, stowed away on the side there for a while. But it's not that interesting.
You're not a poster guy.
No.
Did you have any pets?
No. Oh, I had a turtle at one point.
But you have
Did you put that on your wall?
No, I was told later that they're very dangerous. They have all kinds of diseases.
Yeah, they do, like box turtles and different things. You have to be very careful.
You should have been my mom.
Eric, let's
And also,
save this.
I should have been your mom. What kind of psychological issues got going on there? Oh, my goodness.
Probably like most guys, 12 years old, Charlie's Angels, Farrah Fawcett, the Farrah Fawcett, iconic.
Right,
red,
famous.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
First time.
I love
first
Charlie's
time.
Angels.
Wait, funny story that I brought it home, put it on my wall, and my mom made me put it in the closet. You can have it on your wall, but it's got to go in the closet.
That's sweet.
So you could be his mom.
What about you, Dana?
Well, I remember at 12, this might have been a little bit, I might have been a little bit younger, Sean Cassidy.
Of course.
So same.
And Rick Springfield.
Yes.
Oh, my God. Oh,
But then I think around 12, do you remember Tiffany?
Yes.
I had a poster of her.
You're so funny.
Do you
We're like,
remember her?
yes, totally. We're the same because I used to love Rick Springfield when he was on General Hospital. Also, we were both Bluebirds, Campfire Girls, which is also very unique. We didn't go like the Girl Scout and also our debate team stuff and speech.
Can you bring me in the circle? Who is Tiffany?
Tiffany, I'll play it for you later on
She sang
YouTube.
in malls.
No,
I know what I
I think
had
we're alone
when I was
now.
12. I had a poster of Bill O'Reilly, shirtless when he was in Menudo. He was only in there for about 8 months.
Did he have a spray tan?
Yeah, he had a spray tan.
Is Geraldo in Menudo too?
Yeah, they're all in Menudo.
No, Geraldo.
That's how we hired everybody from Menudo.
Geraldo's still in
Hannity
it.
was in menudo.
Oh my God.
He could
Hannity.
sing. Okay, we'll go this way. This is from Brooke G. If you could go anywhere in the world for a week, but you have to leave tonight, where would you go, Dana?
I would go to, what's it called? Antigua. Because my friend Ingrid has a house there. She's invited us a couple of times, and I've never been able to go. And so I would go there for a week, and I would not take my phone.
Well, that's cheap.
I would go to Spain. I was in Spain about 15 years ago. Amazing country. I absolutely adore Spain. I haven't been back since, and I've been dying to get back.
I've never been. I want to go.
Barcelona, Madrid, Barcelona,
Valencia.
I've never been to
The 5-road trip.
I'd like to go.
Never again.
Oh my God.
I'll second that.
Why?
You were like bathing in red.
Well, I just love the beach, so I just go to the beach. I go to Jamaica and go to the beach.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I was
You
thinking.
like Red Stripe?
What? No, not particularly.
Anything else there?
But yes, but I do. But I think I was thinking the other day I'd like to go hang out in Tokyo again because I was having a party. It's party time. So the other day someone was saying to me, "There's a place over here that's just a door and a stairway." And they said if you go down there, actually it's a bunch of Japanese businessmen partying hard.
Deja vu.
And I was like, I've never been in there, but that's the way it is in Tokyo. You can go in a black door in an alley and it's like wham.
Yeah, Juan, you're not supposed to go down there.
No, that's called lace.
Oh my God.
KG, you can go anywhere in the world.
Okay, where would I go? Okay, here's the problem. Zika got me down.
Oh.
That's the problem. Zika got me down. I got the Zika blues.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a condition.
Yeah, I know. No. It's
Health
serious
insurance
stuff.
covers it. Well, I don't actually have Zika. I'm just worried about it.
No, it's actually it is a worry where there are mosquitoes. So you should be worried. You should make sure that you wear long sleeves wherever you go. You know where I would go? And I said this before last time. I would go to my laundromat and stay there the week. I want to see if they're actually cleaning my shirts, because I think they're just.
You really know how to show your wife a good time.
Well, you know what? They
I
said
know
me.
that's a little
They
OCD,
didn't say
right?
me and the wife. They said me.
No, that's a little
All right,
weird.
Brenda. Ooh, this is my favorite question. We
I'd
start
like
with you,
to go
Eric.
back to
Brenda P. What are your workout routines? Gym, home gym, jog in the park?
You know what,
Gym, tan, laundry. Can't you tell?
No, it's really just. It's I run a lot. I just run a super light run Saturday and Sunday, and try and run 2 days during the week in the morning, and try and get 5 miles each time. Haven't really hit the gym very much, but I lost 15, 16 pounds.
You're in great
I know,
shape.
but you don't eat. You're
you don't eat.
anorexic.
Yeah, a little bit.
You are, for real life.
What about you, Kimberly?
See,
What do
he's
you
a
do?
video
You do
game.
any exercise?
Feel
You
good.
kickbox, don't you?
Yes, I kickboxed, but then I had that unfortunate leg situation.
Right.
Remember that?
I'm not laughing about it, but
Remember my ruined vacation? I seen pictures of my leg, and I had my legs up, and they were like, and I won't do that again now.
At least you're not.
I won't keep my leg up.
At least you're not into any kind of combat exercises where someone might bite you. Ron,
Does that happen?
I've heard it
happens
happen.
Here?
Well, not that I'm aware of.
Where you
It
do
was
this
a dream,
move
Juan.
like
Is that right?
this,
Is that right?
Exercise?
toss to the ground, and then defense move, and then
Juan,
You're really
we had
reenacting.
Juan. Come on,
Yes.
gym routine.
Oh, I go to the gym all the time.
Yeah?
Yeah, but I like to do different things, and lately I've been doing more and more with weights, and I typically have not.
Oh, you have
ever
a
used
trainer
weights.
too, I heard.
I do occasionally use a trainer because I like to box a little bit. So yeah.
How about you, Dana?
Well, I was trying to think of something that, like, I surf on a whatchamacallit, or something funny.
Surf on a potato chip or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But I have a personal trainer named Katie,
Oh, wow, everybody.
and then I have a Pilates instructor named Kate.
Didn't you meet my brother-in-law at Pilates?
I used to have a trainer,
We
so
were
I became
at there around the same
injured.
time. Oh. That's right.
Pilates sounds like some kind of illness you get as a kid. Yeah,
No, really,
Pilates.
it's like really good for your spine.
Yeah, I had
My
Pilates.
trainer
I
used
couldn't
to
leave
be,
the bed.
my
You know what I
milkman.
do? I do resistance. I call it body resistance training, where you find a partner instead of using weights, and you just press against each other.
Oh my.
Usually in the park.
Oh, you and Lou?
At 1 or 2 in the morning.
You and
Bryant
Lou?
Park. Just a lot of pressing. I like doing late night, early workout routines
No
with
wonder.
strangers.
I thought it was Dobbs. He was
Dobbs.
in great shape.
Ahead, Juan's got some news on his favorite football team, the Washington.
Oh,
What are
no.
they? What are they?
Oh, no.
A big
I
development that
can't.
could settle
Oh,
the
no.
never-ending
Wow.
tease.
You're on this. You're on the screen with
Next.
Oh, you guys know it. I'm a big fan of the Washington football's team. But what I'm not a fan of is its official name. It begins with an R, you know, Redskins, for those of you who get a big But I don't like saying it. I don't like, you can say anything you like. I don't like saying it because it's a slur in the dictionary, defined as a slur against Native Americans. So I'd like to see it changed. I know some others who don't agree, Mr. Bowling, but soon the Supreme Court will settle the issue. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case that will decide whether the government can deny a trademark because it's deemed the name involved to be offensive. It's a case involving an Asian American rock group called, I'm not even comfortable with this one, but I'll say it because you need to know, the Slants. So, Greg, what do you think?
Look, right or wrong, it's a measure of the true leisure class that we can spend years quarreling over words. In other parts of the world, there are people that are terrified because their country's being destroyed. There are bombs following them, not band names. They're not concerned about band names. They're concerned about bombs. So, I don't know.
So
we're lucky to have these problems, is what I'm saying.
I hear you, but I'm saying, Dana, 1946 law says that the U.S. Patent Commission can reject names that disparage people living or dead. Now, the counter-argument is First Amendment says government should not penalize private speech.
One of the reasons I pitched this morning, because I like to think about issues like this. I don't necessarily know how this will turn out at the Supreme Court. I do note that in the Washington Post poll they released in May, 9 out of 10 Native Americans said they are not offended by the Redskins name. And so at what point does the court overstep the opinion of the people? and those First Amendment rights. It's an interesting legal case.
So, Eric, the Justice Department has said a trademark is a government benefit, not a limit on private speech.
All right. I'm the other camp that says I'd like the free market to dictate whether or not the Redskins decide to be called the Redskins or they change their name because they find it offensive. Some people find it offensive and they'll stop watching the games, going to the games, buying the jerseys. That's the best measure rather than the Supreme Court telling people what they should or shouldn't be calling themselves.
So, Kimberly, let me just mention another case, which is the state of Texas issues license plates for special groups. When the sons of the Confederate veterans asked for a license plate with the Confederate plate, Texas said no, and the Supreme Court upheld Texas's refusal.
Right. Okay. So there's some precedent there that they can try and hang their hat on, Texas style. But in this case, the band are members of the community that the government is trying to protect, and they are seeking themselves to be able to have this name for their band. So it's a little bit, different in some aspects of it, I think. And then also, I think that you just have to be able to say, what about the comparison to rap music? What about using offensive language if you have African Americans that are doing rap and saying and using the bad words, and then to this? Why can't these people call themselves, whatever name they want? Right.
But wait a second. This is not a football team made up of Native Americans. Anyway.
What?
That's true.
One more thing up next.
About the other.
I'm talking.
One more thing. Greg.
All right, Greg Gutfeld Show tomorrow, 10 p.m. We got Tyrus, the great wrestler. We got Alan Dershowitz. And we got Colonel Alan West. Oh, man.
I love it.
Cat Timp as well. That's tomorrow, 10 p.m. And now this.
Greg Sports Corner.
All right, we're going to the Cat in the Bag Olympics. We got Furry McPawson. Come on. Furry McPawson versus Catnip Johnson. Catnip Johnson's in the bag. Furry thinks that, well, she's going to get past Catnip Johnson. Wait till you see what happens.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
Don't even think of it.
Yes.
That was, oh, my gosh. I love those cat-like reflexes.
They are literally cat-like.
Let's move on. All right.
Yes.
Check out 8 o'clock tonight. I'll be hosting O'Reilly. Mark Cuban, I taped this earlier. Mark Cuban came on. I wanted to ask him about his reaction to Hillary Clinton using his name out on the campaign trail in the aftermath of the debate. I also asked him why he actually called Donald Trump at one point the best candidate in American politics ever, and now he can't stand him. So ask him what happened there. And then this one. I mean, NBA, Juan, as you know, starts pretty soon, right? So if his Dallas Mavericks take a knee during the national anthem, what's he going to do? He's going to respond to all that. And also, don't forget the new Fox News polls are out in just a couple of minutes, so we're going to discuss that as well. Who's next? KG, you're up.
All right. Okay, so time for Kimberly's Royal News. Your favorite section, Greg.
It is.
Everybody, Greg especially, royal cuteness alert here, people, because Prince George and Princess Charlotte were delighted by balloons, bubbles, and mini horses that Greg could even ride at British Columbia's Government House garden party yesterday in Victoria, Canada. So people are loving this online.
What's he doing to the tree?
They joined 24 other children of Canadian military families to celebrate and enjoy the afternoon, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge are on a week-long tour of Canada.
David is up right now.
Okay, so we do this podcast. It's called Perino and Starwell. I'll tell you what, we record them on Wednesday, so there's a new one if you haven't listened to it yet. Here's a little listen from yesterday.
Did Hillary Clinton shore up wobbly Democrats?
Yeah, she shored up voters across the spectrum because she was confident, she had energy, she showed, as Trump would say, stamina. She showed that she was a presence, and she was
having fun at one point when she did that little dance.
Shimmy was not good.
No.
Don't shimmy.
Inside shimmy only.
Yes, exactly. Shimmy.
Never, ever let them see you shimmy.
Hi, shimmy.
No, you can shimmy, but you don't shimmy on the debate stage. So we have our Sunday show at 5 p.m. this weekend, so I hope you'll join us. We have a great panel, too.
All right. We're going to leave it right there. That's it for us. Have a great weekend, everyone. Special report coming up right now.
Breaking tonight, we have new numbers from the first major poll since the presidential debate, and they give us significant new insight into how the showdown at Hofstra is affecting this race. Welcome to the Kelly File, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. This new Fox poll was taken entirely after Monday night's debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And we'll get to it in just a moment with these two guys. Chris Direwalt and Howie Kurtz with us live tonight. Plus, with just 39 days to go before the election, Charles Krauthammer offers his advice to the candidates. But we begin on the campaign trail tonight. Over the past 24 hours, we have witnessed a remarkable series of attacks from the two candidates.
Some people didn't give us a good chance. The other day, one of the biggest people in that business, the very dishonest press business, they said, Mr. Trump, when you started off, you have to tell me the truth. Did you really think you'd be here? We're going to win the White House, and it's going to be an awfully good November 8th. That evening is going to be a celebration. We're going to take on the special interests, the lobbyists, and the powerful politicians that have stolen your jobs through theft and incompetence. They've stolen your wealth. They've taken your middle class. When it comes to Hillary Clinton, all you have to do is remember these words. Follow the money. On November 8th, we are going to end Clinton corruption. We've had enough. If the doctor says, I'm sorry, Jim. I'm sorry, Alice. I'm sorry, whoever it is. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You'll be gone by the end of November. I don't give a damn. Show up and vote on November 8th.
Chief political correspondent, campaign Carl Cameron, is live in Romulus, Michigan. Carl?
Well, his campaign's been telling him he's got to leave the debate behind him. He's got to be more disciplined and stick to the prompter and not ad-lib. And he didn't do much ad-libbing tonight. He was really getting that off of the text. Very aggressive speech for Donald Trump. He started this day quite early. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he was up tweeting, continuing the battle over Miss Universe. And during the rally tonight, he really amped up his attacks on Hillary Clinton. It was almost entirely about her. And at one point, he did sort of take a bit of a detour, and he started talking about President Obama. And he said that, well, he challenged President Obama, threw down a gauntlet. Watch this.
Can you promise that not one of the 5 people who were granted criminal immunity will ever be allowed to serve in a Clinton administration? Mr. President, will you pledge not to issue a pardon to Hillary Clinton and her co-conspirators for their many crimes against our country and against society itself?
And, of course, there are no charges against Hillary Clinton or the 5 staffers who got the immunity deal. So that's not happening. And it's interesting to note that as part of his visit to Michigan here, where he trails in the polls by 7 points to Hillary Clinton, today he stopped at the Gerald Ford Presidential Library and Museum, toured the place. And, of course, Gerald Ford himself once pardoned Richard Nixon. 2 hours after that visit, Trump was saying Obama should certainly not pardon Hillary Clinton. Megan?
Carl, thank you. Tonight we are getting our very first look at nationwide polls taken entirely after the first presidential debate. They show that Hillary Clinton has gained some ground on Donald Trump. In a two-way matchup, she's now at 49% to his 44%. Earlier this month, he was ahead of her. What's more, the polls show this fight is really a battle of the sexes, with Mrs. Clinton enjoying a 23-point advantage over Mr. Trump with women voters. He's doing 17 points better when it comes to the men. And when it comes to what's motivating voters this year, 57% say fear. Fear that the other candidate might win is behind their choice. Just 39% say it's enthusiasm for their candidate. Chris Direwalt is our Fox News digital politics editor. Howie Kurtz is host of Media Buzz on Fox News. Okay, so the random sampling polls, you know, the sort of official polls, say that Hillary Clinton won that debate. So good for her, right? She did what she needed to do. However, Mitt Romney killed President Obama in the first debate back in 2012, Direwalt. And so you tell me whether he got this similar kind of polling bounce thereafter and just how hopeful Hillary Clinton should be feeling tonight.
Well, there's a little bit more spring in her step in the head-to-head matchup than there was for Romney. But you are exactly right that not only did Mitt Romney get boffo debate reviews back in 2012 and end up limping home, but also famous names like Walter Mondale, John Kerry, and others won the first debate. So the first debates aren't necessarily predictive, but of course in politics you'd always rather win than lose.
Right. She doesn't want to get too cocky. And the thing is, Howie, of course, Trump, as we've seen from the beginning, his biggest impediment toward maintaining any momentum he gets going is himself and his thumbs at like 3 in the morning and 5 in the morning, as he continues to, you know, fight these just petty battles that he doesn't need to be fighting.
I've been thinking about it all day, not since 3 a.m., but for many hours, and I can't understand what Trump thinks he's getting out of 3 a.m. tweet attacks on a former Miss Universe that nobody had ever heard of. When you look at this poll, look, none of us are shocked that Hillary got a small bump since she did better in that debate by most people's estimation, but there's one number there that really jumped out at me. 67% in this Fox News survey say she has the temperament to be president. 37% say Donald Trump has the temperament to be president. That's something that Trump has to find a way to change, but you're right. The pundits are all saying, oh, this was such a complete and utter disaster, this debate for Donald Trump. The race is still tight. Much of the country disagrees.
He, you know, on the fight with the Miss Universe, Chris, he could have come out and said, look, I was running the Miss Universe pageant. I wasn't running for president, right? I was a colorful character. You know this about me. I kind of still am. I don't speak the Queen's English. I haven't always said the perfect stuff. But in the midst of saying all this bad stuff about her, I said some other stuff that was kind of nice. You know, she could have been fired. I talked about how I, too, like to eat. Like, if you're going to get hung up on one person, maybe it shouldn't be this person. But he can't let it go.
5 days. 5 days. This campaign has wasted on this issue because it is one that you know the press is going to go for. It's got sex, it's got obesity, it's got Donald Trump. It's a whole segment of The View all in just one whole story. And so here you have all of this catnip that the press is not going to be able to resist. And Trump, even this morning, is like, oh, it's almost over. One more day. I'm going to do it one more time. Remember the rule. You can be right or you can be happy, but usually not both.
Yes, because when Hollywood is trying to titillate us into going to see a movie, that's what they say. It's got obesity.
And fatness. Yeah.
Oh, I'll be there. Howie, just another word on these polls. So she did get a big bump as a result of that, that debate. And the two-way race between them now, according to the four-way race, is 43 Clinton, 40 Trump. But that's within the margin of error. And early September, she had 1 point over him, 41-40. So why the freak out in all these corners? Like, she's got it, she's winning now, and he's losing.
Are we done talking about the sex tape? That's not a sex tape? Okay, I'll move on.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was
so
so
today
much
he said that she was in a sex tape, and apparently she wasn't in a sex tape, but she was on she was on some reality show where she made you believe she was doing something in the bedroom. Then it came out that Trump made some cameo in a soft porn show. Yeah, I don't know. I guess he broke a bottle of champagne over something. He didn't do anything. But this is our presidential race.
Okay. But you asked about the freak out, and here it is. Trump had a very good September. He stuck to the script. He gained ground. Hillary Clinton was losing. Then comes the debate. You know, people can debate about why he didn't do as well, the opportunities he let go, and all of that. And so now the media is saying, well, it's over because we're bipolar. You know, she's winning, she's losing. No, now she's going to win. This race is not over.
It's true. And with all due respect, the most bipolar of all has been Nate Silver, who was such a rock star in 2012. And then then we got here. I was like, oh, Nate Silver says this. Oh no, he says exactly the opposite. Oh, he's back to this. Oh, he's exactly the opposite. My head hurts, Nate. My head hurts. I gotta go.
Bye.
He's super smart, but he made some mistakes. Great to see you both. Well, as you just heard, voters believe Hillary Clinton won the first debate, but the folks we polled are not showing a lot of enthusiasm for either candidate. So what should Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump do next? Charles Krauthammer is a Fox News contributor and syndicated columnist. Charles, good to see you. So if you had to advise Team Trump, if they came to you and said, Charles, it's go time, what's the #1 thing he needs to do with 5.5 weeks left? What would you say?
When you see a trail of cheese, don't follow it, because there's a trap at the other end.
Right.
And for him, that means just self-control and discipline. Look, the reason his numbers have gone up over the last month is very simple. They shackled him. They put the bracelets on, handcuffs, everything. They made him read from the prompter, and he got his issues out, and he didn't get into too much trouble. The minute you're in a debate, you're loosed, you're not controlled, and for him, he just went to where he goes, and that is to protect his self-image. And the basis of his self-image, he made two huge mistakes. Number one was taking the bait on the Miss Universe, which raised all the issues of which you are unfortunately familiar. And the other issue was he took the bait on taxes and actually admitted essentially to 86 million Americans that he doesn't pay them, and he's proud of it. Now, that's not a good idea, and that will dog him, I'm sure. So he needs to simply refuse to follow those issues. It's not about him, of course. That's easy for someone to say on the outside. And to stick to what works. What works for him, particularly in the Midwest, is trade and the economy, and then to go after her, not on the sexual harassment stuff, the husband stuff, the impeachment stuff, but to go after her on her own damn scandals, to quote Bernie Sanders. Her email, her untruths, etc.
So, but there's a debate
agenda
about that, right? Because he's suffering now. I mean, his numbers with women were already low going into that debate, and they fell another 7 points, according to our poll, as a result of that debate. So, some disagree with you there and say, show the American public that she's no angel either when it comes to her treatment of women.
I don't think that's going to work.
Why?
I don't think it works. Well, first of all, it would be a man saying it. Secondly, that's been adjudicated, and at least 20 years ago, you could argue that the zeitgeist of the country has changed, but 20 years ago, it caused the Republicans untold grief. They lost several speakers of the House. They got crushed in by-elections. President Clinton, in the middle of all this, had this highest approval ratings, as did she. Look, if you're desperate, that's the nuclear option, yes. If you're 10 points behind, you got nothing else, then you launch your missiles and you hope it lands.
Is he desperate yet? I mean, he was evening the playing field before this debate and gaining, I mean, beating her by at least a couple points in some critical swing states.
But there's a difference between losing your momentum, which was about to take you into the lead, and a collapse. He did not collapse. He's been stalled. I think the way to get out of the stall is to go back to the main reason for his campaign, which is she status quo, you're new. That's the major appeal, particularly in the Midwest. You go for the economy, you go for trade, which is the real salient issue, much more than immigration, and you stick with what works.
What about her? What do you see? I mean, she's clearly feeling good right now, right? She's got her mojo back, but she has stumbled many times in the course of this campaign. So what should she be watching out for the next 5 weeks?
Well, do what you did in the first debate. It worked. And that is, I mean, she was lucky because he didn't come back on the issues on which she could have been easily hit. But for example, you got to have a better answer on TPP, on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the trade deal. She obviously had contradicted her old position. There may be no way out, but there should be a way perhaps to reverse the issue, to send the volley back over the net and talk about his flip-flops on other issues. But that was her one weakness. She had a bad half hour at the beginning. She needs to study that and to have better answers. Otherwise, she sticks to what is the essence of her campaign, which is, I mean, that line she had where she said, I prepared for this debate. He criticized me for preparing. What else I prepared for is the presidency. That's her calling card. Yes, I'm status quo. Yes, you've seen me. And perhaps, yes, I'm not that trustworthy. However, I'm prepared. I know my stuff. I'm ready. I'm not scary. I can handle the job. That is her calling card. That's what she has to stick with. She can't invent a new idea or a new issue for her campaign. There isn't any.
Hillary Clinton, I am not scary. Charles?
That's
the state of the race, right, in 2016 America.
How about I've heard of Aleppo?
That would be helpful, too. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you.
As we mentioned a moment ago, just when you thought the political fight over a Venezuelan beauty queen couldn't get any more dramatic, Donald Trump today sent people looking for her sex tape. Yes, he did. So Molly Hemingway and Nomiki Konst are next on where the story went then. 39 days to the election and new fallout tonight in the feud playing out over Twitter between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. She got into. It all started when Clinton mentioned former Miss Universe Alicia Machado at Monday's debate, which you've heard about by now. Now, 4 days later, Mrs. Clinton and Mr. Trump are still locked in a major disagreement, shall we say, over what Machado means for this race, especially after Trump today sent people looking for her alleged sex tape. Because that's what happens in presidential races. I remember when Mitt Romney did that. Oh, no, he didn't. Trace Gallagher has a story. Trace.
Megan, as Hillary Clinton pointed out, this is day 5 of Donald Trump going after former Miss Universe Alicia Machado, and apparently Mr. Trump didn't want to let the morning slip away, beginning his flurry of tweets at 3:20 a.m. Eastern Time and continuing for the next 2.5 hours, saying, quote, "Wow, crooked Hillary was duped and used by my worst Miss You. Hillary floated her as an angel without checking her past, which is terrible." Then a few minutes later, Trump clarified his no angel comment, tweeting, quote, "Did crooked Hillary help disgusting, check out sex tape and past, Alicia M. become a U.S. citizen so she could use her in the debate?" Well, as for helping Machado gain citizenship, the Clinton campaign answered no, no, no. As for Machado's sex tape, fact checkers say it does not exist. Former Miss Universe did appear in a risque scene on a reality TV show, but there was no visible sex. Like many scenes in the world of reality TV, it's unclear how much of it was actually real. As for the early morning tirade, Hillary Clinton said this. Watch.
I mean, his latest Twitter meltdown is unhinged, even for him. It proves yet again that he is temperamentally unfit to be president and commander-in-chief.
Alicia Machado also responded, saying Trump is trying to intimidate and humiliate her. Quote, "I will keep standing, sharing my story. I absolutely support Mrs. Clinton on behalf of women, my sisters, aunts, grandmothers, cousins, friends, and female community." Today, Newt Gingrich called the Machado story an ambush by the Clinton campaign that's as false as Benghazi. And Donald Trump said for those mocking him for tweeting at 3 a.m., at least they know he'll be there awake to answer the call. Megan.
Trace, thank you. Joining us now with more, Molly Hemingway. She is the senior editor at The Federalist, which if you're not reading, you should. Also, Nomiki Konst. She's the host of The Filter on SiriusXM and a DNC platform committee member. Great to see you both.
Nice to see
so,
you.
Molly, you don't disagree with Newt Gingrich that this is a hit. I mean, this is basically a planned hit on Trump. Explain.
Well, what's hard about this story is that when Hillary Clinton brought it up, she brought it up with a very selective set of facts. She wanted to make this part of her war on women messaging, and the media have largely accepted this framing. They have run with it, and they have made many stories out of this, thanks also to the help of Donald Trump continuing to keep this story in the news. It turns out that this person that she chose to make a surrogate for the campaign, to make a hero victim for her campaign, does have quite the shady past. Everything from being accused of running a getaway car for a murder, threatening to kill a judge on who handled that case. She is alleged to have had a child with a drug kingpin, and there are all sorts of problems. And also, contrary to what we just heard, there actually is a sex tape if you define sex tape as videotape of someone having sex, which is, I think, a fair definition of sex tape. So she's also been caught on that. That disrupted her marriage.
On reality TV show. It's not, I guess, I don't know. I haven't seen it. The suggestion was, I guess, that it was like a Kim Kardashian situation.
It is, no, but she is filmed having sex with someone who is not the fiancé that she was engaged to. That fiancé publicly made a big deal about breaking up with her after that sex was shown on TV.
So I'm sorry, I gotta stop you here. You're a reporter. You're supposed to report on facts. This is all speculation, and it doesn't matter. This is about Donald Trump losing his mind and degrading women in a tirade. Come on. You can't just go on and character assassinate a woman who's running for president and putting her as the victim, or that she understands how the media works, so she's sending out messages to reinforce the message that Donald Trump treats women poorly, and he's still not winning with women, and he needs to, and that's why.
Go ahead, Molly.
It's actually great to bring up character assassination because in this race we have two candidates for president, and one of them has spent decades involved in character assassination of women who are involved with her husband. That includes everything from hiring a private investigator who is a former colleague of hers to trash Jennifer Flowers when Jennifer Flowers went public about her lengthy affair with Bill Clinton. It also includes taking a list of women who had had sex with Bill Clinton, bringing them into her legal offices, and sitting in on these meetings while lawyers threatened these women so that they would stay silent. This includes releasing information to gaslight women or make their stories seem unfair.
In our next segment too, but Nomiki, go ahead, respond.
Okay, well, there's a big difference between, I mean, the right now and those allies of Donald Trump in friendly media publications, conservative media publications, are essentially trying to equate a consensual relationship between adults. While it might not be morally great, it is not illegal.
They're not trying to blame Hillary for Bill's affairs. They're trying to say she had a hand in threatening these women and intimidating these women and shaming these women who came forward to tell their story about their relationship with Bill.
And remember, Hillary Clinton is the woman who came up with the term vast right-wing conspiracy. She's saying that Donald Trump is a conspiracy theorist. She came up with that.
And again, it's all alleged, and it's used. I mean, you have to put yourself in
This is alleged too, though, Nomiki.
Right.
The comments that Miss Universe is making about him calling her Miss Piggy and Miss Housekeeping are alleged too. They haven't been proven. There's no third-party witness. However, having said that, there's a litany of other comments Trump made about her weight, that all of which are on camera. So
and he did take her to the gym.
Exactly.
He did, you know, he has tried to hurt her reputation. But with that being said, there is this long history of trying to shame Hillary Clinton for her husband's infidelity, which, quite frankly, is not working.
Isn't. That's not what's happening.
It is. There's
it's
a
about
lot of media
her
out there
role in
saying
it. That's not true. No one's saying, oh, poor Hillary, she got cheated on. They're saying, look at the testimonials that all these women came, and there are a lot of them. There's a lot of them. It's not like one or two.
There are dozens going back decades, and it's in fact Hillary Clinton's role involved in defaming these women that is relevant now.
Okay.
So if we're going to talk about defaming women, we need to be fair and be equal about it.
Okay, we're going to pick it up there, and you've teed up our next segment beautifully. Nice job.
Thanks.
Both of you. So breaking tonight, Donald Trump just launched a new attack on Bill and Hillary Clinton, telling the New York Times that, quote, Hillary Clinton is married to the single greatest abuser of women in the history of politics. Seems like he's going a different route than the one he said he was going to go. David Wohl and Richard Fowler are next on that. Breaking tonight, after days of dropping hints, Donald Trump just went there in an interview with the New York Times that just hit, warning Hillary Clinton that he is ready to get, quote, nasty, and going on to describe her husband as, quote, the single greatest abuser of women in the history of politics. It comes on the same day that a couple of intrepid reporters dug up details on just how far Hillary Clinton allegedly went in what they say was the effort to silence the women who got a little too close to her husband, Bill Clinton. Trace Gallagher has that report. Trace?
Megyn, using a mix of interviews, biographies, and personal profiles, the reporting attempts to paint a fairly stark image of Hillary Clinton's history of intimidation tactics aimed at keeping her husband's career on track. Example, in 1988, when a political enemy threatened to make public a list of Bill Clinton's girlfriends, Clinton biographer Gail Sheehy says Hillary hired two of her law partners at Arkansas's largest law firm to confront the women one by one. It apparently worked because the lengthy list of paramours ended up staying private. Others point out that when the other women couldn't be controlled, they would have to be discredited. The Washington Post notes that in 1992, the Clinton campaign hired private detective Jack Palladino to investigate the accusers involved in dozens of allegations against Bill Clinton. And according to Sheehy, it was Hillary's idea to hire Palladino, whose goal when it came to Jennifer Flowers was to, quote, impeach her character and veracity until she is destroyed beyond all recognition. In 1988, when Kathleen Willey spoke to reporters about Bill Clinton's unwanted advances in the Oval Office, two other Hillary biographers say it was the then First Lady who told the White House to release 9 fawning letters that Willey had sent the president after the alleged incident. Many reporters then dropped the story, concluding the letters disproved Willey's version. And when the controlling and discrediting failed, the public record is replete with accounts of Hillary Clinton attacking the character of the accusers. Think Lewinsky and Paula Jones. But the Clinton campaign has made it crystal clear an effort by Trump and Trump surrogates to dredge up ancient history will not throw Hillary Clinton off her game. Megyn.
This is getting dicey. Trace, thank you. Joining me now, David Wohl, a Trump supporter and attorney, and Richard Fowler, senior fellow at the New Leaders Council and a nationally syndicated radio host. You know, that lays it out very well, right? What the attack on Hillary would be. It's not you got cheated on. That's you don't attack a woman for you got cheated on repeatedly. It's you helped to smear, embarrass, and intimidate a long list of women who got involved in an extramarital affair with your husband, who was first a governor and then a president. But David, I ask you, as Trump, his initial instinct on Monday was not to go there, as he struggles to win female voters, and 5 days later, it appears to have done a 180. So which judgment was right?
Well, this is, you know, Megan, this so transcends gender that it's unbelievable. Bill and Hillary Clinton were literally thug nation. I mean, what they did as far as intimidating and coercing these women that made these allegations against Bill Clinton is literally not just unethical, but it's arguably criminal. She waged an all-out war on the women who stood in the way of not just Bill Clinton's ambition, but her own political ambition. And Megan, it gives us some really good insight into the mindset of a woman who years and years later would engage in the activity she did as Secretary of State with the Clinton Foundation, the pay-to-play scandal, and the email scandal when she would destroy an illegal server. She would destroy the cell phones that contained classified and top-secret emails. This is a woman who never believes she'll be held accountable, and guess what? She hasn't to date, but my guess is the voters on September 8th will take all this into consideration and hold her accountable. They have to. This is unbelievable.
David supports the Trump of tonight, who appears to be ready to go there. And he's been getting battered for 5 days over his treatment of women, but he brought it on. I mean, like, as Charles Krauthammer said, she laid out the cheese and he just ate it on up until there was no cheese left. Richard?
It's indeed a self-fulfilling prophecy by the Trump campaign. While I love David, I gotta invoke monopoly here. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. They're trying to make this connection between Hillary Clinton being a woman who was cheated on both in the governor's mansion and the White House to Hillary Clinton, the candidate for president. And that's the wrong assumption to make, because what that does say is that Donald Trump's sexual past and Donald Trump's marital past is on the table when he had his wife Ivana and he was cheating on her publicly with another woman. And in Ivana's divorce testimony, she indicates that she was raped by Donald Trump. So once you go down, but it's in court testimony, which is under oath.
But she recanted it, and he denied it.
But it is under oath.
Megan, but to compare, Rich, and I love you too, Rich, but to compare an affair, to allegations of sexual assault, sexual abuse, and sexual harassment isn't even in the same universe. What these women complained about Bill Clinton doing to them, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 of them, was criminal in nature. Criminal. Not just a sexual assault.
Go ahead, Richard.
A sexual assault or harassment, which she did recant, that might be fair. That's criminal in nature as well. This is the problem. For Donald Trump to win this election, Megan, he needs to convince educated white women to go out and vote for him. When you make these type of statements and you attack an educated white women are like, wait a minute, why would I vote for somebody that's attacking another educated white woman?
Yeah, but the thing is, Richard, what he's trying to do now through his surrogates and now tonight is fill out the picture, which is, I said some things, they weren't great things, but she's done some things too. There's more to this story. And the women of America will be left thinking, we're so lucky. We're so
an educated white woman who was out to destroy 5, 6, 7 other educated white women because they made allegations against her husband that made her life very difficult. They made her political ambitions very difficult.
I'll note this before we go. When she was going through these, scandals, when she was being cheated on, Lewinsky and so on, her approval rating shot up. It was 67%. The American public had great empathy for her, but they weren't talking about this other. It was just Hillary Clinton, the victim, who's been cheated on. It wasn't this other stuff. So we'll see where this race goes in the next 5 weeks, folks. Great to see you both.
Good to see you too, Megan.
Remember Superstorm Sandy and how it played out in the fall of 2012? Meet Matthew, the Category 4 hurricane now headed for the East Coast. We'll update you on this guy. Joining me now, Mark McKinnon, co-creator and co-host of The Circus. That was fun, Mark.
There was more drama in the control room than there was on the debate stage. You guys really operate without a net, and thank you for letting us do that. Part of the ambition of The Circus is to show viewers and voters what it's like to be behind the scenes of a campaign. And I've seen that we showed from the campaign side, but we've never been able to show it from the news side. And that was fascinating for me because it's tense, and I know what it's like being tense on the debate side, being with a candidate, but I've never been in the control room of the TV room. Man, that's hot stuff.
You've seen more than I've seen because we're like Superman and Clark Kent. We're never in the same room at the same time. The control room team and me. But that's Scott Rosenthal, our director, who keeps the madness under control in there. And you can see the viewers never get to see the problems because we try to hide them from you. Oh, it's me and me. But that night we didn't have Brian Fallon. He was supposed to be our lead guest. We didn't have Kellyanne Conway. She was supposed to be our second lead guest. Nobody was showing up. We were going on the air in front of
live TV, right?
5 million people. We had no guests at all. So you have to be able to roll with it. And one of the fun things about TV is you're getting an eyewitness view of what's happening in the control room where things are melting down. Like, where's Fallon? And I'm out on the set, and all I ever hear is, Brian Fallon will be here in 2 minutes.
Right there.
Right? Brian's
They're
up
trying
next.
to keep you calm, right?
And my only hint that something's wrong is in the background you'll be like, get him! You're like, oh, whoa!
Well, they did a great job.
Any surprises, when you saw the whole thing go down?
The whole thing was a surprise. I had no idea the control room was that chaotic and that dramatic. It was fascinating for me to see that, and I think it would be for viewers, too.
Yeah, I think so, too. And you'll get sort of a flavor for how we put the show together and the choices that we make and why we make them, and then there will be some other shows featured too that you don't need to worry about. You can tune it away.
Well, the thing that we're doing the whole week, we have kind of a theme every week, and the theme this week is the newsrooms, and we wanted to show what it's like to see the campaign through the lens of news programs like yours.
Well, you guys were pros, all of you. So
Thanks.
thank you for doing such
guys.
a beautiful job.
It
was a pleasure having you. Kicked it. Marcos at the end of it he goes, Megan, can I get a kick it? So I was like, kick it? Kick it? Only Mark could pull that off. Coming up, meet Matthew, the newest contender in the 2016 race, and you're not going to like him. He's next. Remember Superstorm Sandy and how it played out in the 2012 election? Meet Matthew the hurricane, now pointed at the East Coast. Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth is live in the Fox Weather Center. Rick?
Hey, okay, so Superstorm Sandy was about a week, 8 days or so before the election. We're a little bit of ways from that. I don't think we're going to be talking about a big game changer as far as the elections go, but this is a really strong storm right now in across the Caribbean, down towards Colombia and Venezuela. But we are going to be dealing with impacts from this, I believe, across parts of the U.S., maybe by around 5 to 7 days from now. All of our model guidance pulls us off towards the north. Cuba, Jamaica getting an impact from this. But what we're going to watch is maybe by Wednesday, about 5 days, watching some sort of impacts here across parts of the Bahamas, maybe in towards areas of Florida. And these are our two most reliable models here, Megan, having some sort of interaction with the eastern seaboard there Wednesday through Friday, Saturday of next week. So we do have a storm on our hands we're going to watch.
We will. Rick, thank you.
You bet.
We'll be right back. What do you think? Should Trump go there on the Hillary Clinton bill situation? Go to Facebook.com/The Kelly File, on Twitter @Megyn Kelly. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. I'm Megyn Kelly, and this is The Kelly File.
Hi, I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching this special edition of the Factor Election 2016. It's been 4 days since the blockbuster first presidential debate, just 3 days until the one and only vice presidential debate, and 2 more showdowns between Trump and Clinton still loom. With that backdrop, let's get right to our top story. Donald Trump on supercharged offense. The Republican nominee ignited a fresh controversy in the wee hours of the morning, accusing his newest nemesis, former Miss Universe Alicia Machado, of having a sex tape, among other things. That led Hillary Clinton to deploy the War on Women charge against him.
He finds it a lot easier to insult women than to talk to the president of Mexico about building a wall. I mean, really, who gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning to engage in a Twitter attack against a former Miss Universe?
Meanwhile, the Commission on Presidential Debates admitted today that there was, in fact, a problem with Trump's sound level inside the presidential debate hall, though it did not affect the actual TV broadcast. Trump sounded off about it a short time ago in Michigan.
By the way, it was just announced by the commission that holds the debate that Donald Trump's microphone was defective, as I've been saying. I mean, working that microphone was a hell of a lot more difficult than working crooked Hillary Clinton, that I can tell you. Wonder why it was bad. Think of that. I wonder why it was bad.
So is this increasingly aggressive stance from Trump what he needs to gain the upper hand against Clinton? Joining us now with reaction from Philadelphia, Richard Goodstein, an attorney and former Hillary Clinton advisor, and from Little Rock, Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a senior advisor for the Trump campaign. Start with you, Sarah. So everyone's talking about the 3 o'clock in the morning tweet that keeps this Alicia Machado story alive. Tell us, does the campaign say, hey, Donald, put the Twitter machine down when you go to sleep, and if you get up in the middle of the night, don't pick it up?
You know, one of the things that I just heard Hillary Clinton say, which I think is extremely telling, is she just said, what's he doing up at 3 a.m.? Well, we know Hillary Clinton doesn't get up at 3 a.m., and the phone rings, she certainly isn't there to answer it. I think that's far more problematic to be president, to not be there ready to take the charge, ready to lead, and actually be able to be awake at something like that. The biggest problem here is Hillary Clinton wants to make this a big issue. The problem with that is the most offensive thing that's been said on the campaign trail this year, and probably in modern politics, is what Hillary Clinton said about millions of Americans, including millions of American women, and that's that they're deplorable and irredeemable. That alone disqualifies her from being president, the utter contempt that she has for so many Americans across this country.
You know, Richard, we played the ad, this Trump ad hitting Hillary Clinton. Now, why, and when she kind of very loudly wondered why she wasn't up by 50%, and then they go through the reasons why she wasn't up by 50%. The problem is we're spending most of the day talking about Alicia Machado. Wouldn't it be better if we just move on and get back to the issues?
A problem for who? Look, the fact of the matter is, what Sarah just said, the suggestion that somehow Hillary is not physically up to this, any of the 84 million people who watched that debate the other night saw one person in a red suit who was totally vibrant till the end, and the other guy just was kind of leading on that podium and kind of flagging from about 30 minutes on for the last 60. So this, I mean, I hope the Trump campaign predicates a strategy on the fact that somehow or other Hillary Clinton doesn't have stamina. Because as she said, he hasn't been to 112 countries. He hasn't stood up to 11 and a half hours of testimony.
Hey, Eric. Sarah, I'll let you get in here, but let's point out a couple of things. In the battleground states, Donald Trump has visited 54 times the battleground states. Hillary Clinton 25 times. Sarah, I want to ask you this. So a lot of people want to know, debate number 2 strategy. Will Donald Trump come out a little bit more aggressive? Will Donald Trump, and he hinted to this about this today, will he go ahead and talk about Bill Clinton's infidelities?
You know, I think all things could be on the table depending on the direction that Hillary Clinton goes. We now know she wants to get into the gutter so that she can distract from her own record. You know, one of the problems with what he just said, we're not worried about her stamina, we're worried about her credibility. This is a woman that has been in government for 30 years and has nothing but a failed record to show for it. That's what we're worried about. That's why we don't want her to be president, and that's why Donald Trump is doubling up on the number of stops that she is. It's not to show a discrepancy in stamina, but it's to tell the story and to get that message out there in the contrast of, if you want the status quo, you've got Hillary Clinton. If you want somebody to come in, shake up, and change Washington, you've got Donald Trump, who's the ultimate change agent in this race.
And so what about it, Richard? Do you think if Donald Trump does, in fact, go ahead and go there and talk about Bill Clinton's infidelities, you think it's fair for him to do something like that?
I think if he wants to, he should. You know, there are terms like clean hands, right, or people in glass houses. You've got him and his leading 2 surrogates, Giuliani and Newt, all of whom have had 3 wives, and we won't talk about the circumstances in which they kind of got there. Look, the fact of the matter is, if Donald Trump wants to run against Bill Clinton for president in some alternative universe, great, he should do that. But in this universe, he's living in a dream world. Look,
Richard,
the Republicans have tried this.
Here's the context that you could be bringing it up. Is that Hillary Clinton can play the victim, but she also attacked some of the accusers of Bill Clinton, who said she called Monica Lewinsky a narcissistic Looney Tune. She called Jennifer Flowers a gold digger, and she told Stephanopoulos that the other 24 accusers, they should try and destroy those stories. I mean, that's someone who's blaming the victim, is it not?
Everything you just said happened as of the off-year elections in 1998, where Newt Gingrich, then Speaker of the House, ran the campaign to re-elect Republicans on Monica Lewinsky. And guess what? For the first time in the history of the Republic, the sixth-year president, White House, won seats. The Democrats won seats in that election, and Newt was no longer Speaker as a result of that brilliant strategy. So my attitude is, bring it on. Okay. I'm sure it will work as well now with the debate.
So what will he do in debate 2? Will he change the strategy? He laid back. He wasn't very aggressive. He didn't. I don't even think I may be mistaken. I don't even think he brought up the deplorables comment. Did he?
Look, Richard, here's the problem. While the infidelity issue is problematic for the Clintons, it's far from the strongest attack against Hillary. You've got the pay-to-play scandal. You've got the email scandal. You've got the putting our government and our national security at risk and putting our government up to sell for the highest bidder. There's a lot of content out there to come after Hillary Clinton.
You've heard of Pam Bondi, right? You talk about the Trump Foundation, what it did. That's textbook pay-to-play. And it was illegal, too, to have him make that contribution out of his foundation, and then she shut down the investigation right after she got that contribution. That is textbook pay-to-play.
Guys, the debate goes on about the debates coming up. We're going to have to leave it right there. Sarah, Richard, thank you very much. Up next, billionaire provocateur Mark Cuban hits the no-spin zone and talks presidential debates and athletes protesting the national anthem. We'll be right back with that. In the Impact segment tonight, Mark Cuban, the billionaire entrepreneur, has become one of Hillary Clinton's highest profile supporters and loudest critics of Donald Trump. I spoke with him earlier today. So let's talk a little bit about yesterday when Hillary Clinton was on the campaign trail, feeling very good about her debate performance, and actually invoked the name of Mark Cuban as maybe being a little bit of help and support during the debate. Listen.
At the debate the other night, one of my well-known supporters, Mark Cuban, was there in the front row, and he really, I think, unsettled my opponent.
So what do you think, Mark? Are you going to take credit for unsettling Donald Trump to the point where she won the debate? And by the way, do you think she won the debate?
A, I think she won the debate hands down. B, no, I'm not taking credit. I don't think I was the one unsettling him, but I certainly unsettled Rudy Giuliani. When he saw me there, he was like, what's he doing here? So I got a big kick out of that. But I think what really unsettled him was, first, her ability to bait him, but second, some of his answers, I don't know if you could hear it all over the TV, but he was getting laughed at by the crowd, and I think that really upset him, and that kind of made him really antsy, which turned into really combative.
You know, Mark, I was in the debate. I listened to it from inside, and at first it was a little bit unsettling. His microphone wasn't working, hers was. They did fix it.
No. I'm not going to let you go there.
I was there.
I'm not going to let you go there. I was right there, and I even talked to people who were there for their walkthrough. And during the walkthrough, he complimented the audio guys.
Okay, but I'm telling you, during the debate, I was there before it started. I was probably there 30 minutes before. He had to be seated at 8:30, and when it started, her microphone was substantially louder than his. Now it went out on TV. I understand. Equally loud. I don't think there was an issue. I'm not crediting that with her success at the debate, but I was just pointing out that there was actually an audible difference between the two
let's
microphones.
put it this way.
Inside
the whole Trump family was right across the aisle from me, and they were very observant of everything that was going on. I spent more time watching them than I did him. Not a word from anybody before, during, or after.
All right. So let's do this. You're a billionaire. Donald's a billionaire. You started out. I think you started out calling him one of the best presidential candidates in the history of America, and now you're on her side. What happened?
You know, it was very straightforward. I was excited to have somebody who was candid, who spoke what was on his mind. I thought it would change the political process. In a lot of respects, he has. But at some point, and I said this to him directly via email, at some point you have to learn the issues. To me, you have to be, in order to be a good president, because there's so much uncertainty that comes with the job, you have to be willing to dig in and learn. You have to be able to, not only understand your own policies, but the policies of countries and leaders around the world. He made no effort to learn. And once he got past Ted Cruz, I told him specifically, Donald, you have to learn the issues. You have to learn the policies. And that obviously was of no interest to him.
You tweeted, I believe today, maybe today, you tweeted that you thought Donald Trump would be, if he doesn't win the election, he would be broke in 7 years. What do you mean?
He has built his brand in properties, particularly golf and hotels, based off of being a premium brand.
You know, there have been plenty of studies that said that Trump was one of the top 10 premium brands in the country. And I don't see that matching up with the demographics now that really are his following. I think, you know, he talks a lot about the elites and the insiders and the wealthy and how that's not his core following and that's not who's voting for him. Well, those are the people that really bought into his brand and could afford to stay at a Trump hotel, who could afford a tee time at a Trump golf course. And that doesn't match up anymore. So I think he's losing the people that were his customers coming into the election and gaining potential customers that don't really match up or can't afford his branding.
Yeah, and I think at one point you tweeted that you thought the Clinton brand was stronger than the Trump brand, and I'm thinking
globally, without question.
Well, okay, but you know, some of the things that you associate the Clintons with, Bill Clinton, the infidelity, Hillary Clinton, the mistrust.
Come on now. First of all, Bill Clinton's not running for office. Second, if you want to talk infidelities, Donald has them hands down, and there's a lot of things people aren't even talking about, but I won't go there. But as a global brand, Bill Clinton was the leader of the free world. He took a lot of steps. And look, for all the paparazzi-oriented things that we'll talk about during the Clinton presidency or now, those aren't the things that people around the world really pay attention to. Bill Clinton, through his foundation, has gone around the world and helped people. That has helped build his brand. That has helped build awareness of who he is and has created a very positive association.
No, I'll give you
Donald
that.
Can't say
I'll give you that. In the news, Colin Kaepernick has decided, you know, he's going to create this the protest against oppressive things going on in America. Now, you're a team owner, Dallas Mavericks. If your Dallas Mavericks decided to take a knee during the national anthem, your thoughts on that? First of all, let me do this. Bill O'Reilly last night talked about it in his talking points memo. Take a listen.
The overriding nobility of America far outweighs individual bias and terrible mistakes on the part of a few police officers. Colin Kaepernick and others who despise their own country do have a right to vent. But by taking things out of context, by diminishing the proud history of this country in freeing millions of people all over the world, those anti-American displays insult us.
Your thoughts? Do you agree with Bill O'Reilly?
I agree with part of what he said. I don't think it's necessarily insulting. I'll tell you what my dad told me, and this is what I go by. My dad enlisted in the Navy at 16. My uncle enlisted as well. And one of the reasons he enlisted so early was because my grandparents came from a country where if you spoke out against leadership, there was a good chance you were going to die. And that's why they left their homeland. And as I was growing up and there were things that were going on, he made it very clear to me that there are going to be times when you disagree with people. But in this great country of ours, they have the right to be heard. And there's going to come a time when if we don't support those we disagree with, if we speak out against power and we speak out against government, someone might not be there to protect us. And so what I told our players in our meeting on Monday before I left for the debate, I said, look, guys, I'm going to stand there with my hand on my heart. My family is going to stand there with their hands on their hearts. But whatever you decide to do, just tell me up front. Do it as a team, and I will support you. Because in this country, just like my father and my uncle taught me, we have a First Amendment, and we will support it. Because if we don't support those we disagree with, when the people in power come for me and come for those that I love, there will be no one there to support us.
All right, Mark Cuban, great friend, great American, just picking the wrong side this time around in this election. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Never boring talking with Mark Cuban. And a footnote, we spoke with Cuban earlier today before the Commission on Presidential Debates admitted there was an issue with Trump's sound level inside the debate hall, but not on the television broadcast of the debate. But there, right there, next on the rundown, a wave of new post-debate polls just out, and they may not have the news Hillary Clinton was hoping for. Right back with that. In the Campaign 2016 segment tonight, the state of the presidential race. There's a flood of new post-debate polls out today. The new Fox poll of likely voters shows Hillary Clinton with a modest 3-point lead over Donald Trump. That's a 2-point gain for Clinton since early September. Libertarian Gary Johnson comes in 8%. Green Party nominee Jill Stein has 4%. And there are key swing state polls just out showing some slight movement for Hillary Clinton. Joining us to analyze, Caitlin Huey-Burns, political reporter for Real Clear Politics, along with Arnon Mishkin, director of the Fox News Decision Desk. Arnon, we'll talk to you very quickly. So this Fox News poll is a change from prior to this debate to after the debate.
Precisely.
So Donald Trump stayed the same at 40%, right?
Yes.
Hillary Clinton had a 1-point lead prior to the debate.
Something like that.
And now she has 3.
Exactly.
So she moved up 2 ticks.
That's right.
And he stayed the same. Any surprises in that?
I think that the big surprise in that is that, frankly, she has not closed the deal. Clearly, she had a great week this week. She did very well in the debate. 61% of voters in the Fox News poll said she won the debate. And she's continued to talk about that for the rest of the week. Even this, nonetheless, only 2/3 of those people who say she won the debate are voting for her. So she's not closed the deal, and it suggests that actually there's still some room for opportunity for this election to change.
And Caitlin, what are your thoughts on the fact that post-debate, and a lot of people think she did win the debate, and as Arnon points out, it's not really actually making voters flock to her?
Right. Well, I do think that this shows that the debate had an impact on the polling. And in a close race, a couple of points is kind of a big deal, right? What she did do was she improved on the negative things that were hurting her. So honest and trustworthiness, she's now on par with Trump on that measure, which is significant. She's gained points on temperament. He has not. And when you're looking at the polling and when you look at the aggregate, Trump is struggling to get out of the low 40s. And so that's what we're seeing here. So even though she had a modest increase, he has had no movement at all.
Talk to us about the independents. I think he has a 12-point lead among independents.
He has a 12-point lead among independents. To me, the most interesting thing about the poll is not that there's a lead that Clinton has. And Clinton has this lead, and she has this lead in all the swing state polls that you talked about that came out today, Nevada, Colorado, and one other state that but the key thing is to look at the people who are not voting for either Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump in the polls. And if you look at nationally in the Fox News poll, 17% of the country are either voting for Johnson or Stein or are undecided. Those people are what I would call the movables. And those are the people that one needs, and they're going to move in some way in the next 4 weeks, and that's going to determine, or the next 5 weeks.
Well, they have to.
Well, they have
to. They're going to have to.
Well, they're going to have, and when you look at those people, and we've seen this across a number of polls, 90% of them say they want change. 80% of them say Donald Trump doesn't have the right Trump temperament. And 70% of those undecided say Hillary Clinton.
You know what that sounds like? And this is what's going on with the millennials. Caitlin, I talk to you about this. In 2008, 47% turned out, the millennial vote. In 2012, 41% turned out. This year, this election cycle sounds like the millennials or the movables, they're not going to show up.
Well, and this is the problem for Clinton, is that it's not that she's losing young people to Trump. She's still leading Trump among young people, but she's something like 20 points behind where Obama was in 2012 and in 2008. So it's that enthusiasm measure, and that's why you hear her and Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, out on the campaign trail, Michelle Obama, saying, don't vote for a third-party candidate, come to our side. And that takes a lot of work.
Let me throw another one at you guys. I'll start with you, Arnon. A good friend of mine runs a Hispanic company. He said 30% of all news
Well, here's the thing. Republicans have been trying to reach out to Latino voters on that measure, talking about business, talking about the economy. The problem is that Trump is not doing those things. He's not messaging to them on the economy. He's not really talking about the economy right now. I mean, we've seen over the past week, he's talking about lots of other things except for the issues at hand. So that's the problem here, that Republicans feel like they have a message, but they don't have a candidate who's giving that message to this group.
That's such an untapped asset to Donald Trump. He's the guy who's perceived as better on the economy. Hispanics are very, very in tune with what's going on in the economy. 27 million Hispanics are going to vote this time.
He has not reached out to the Hispanic population. He's tried to reach out to the African American population. There's some argument about, is he doing that to reach out to African Americans, or is he doing that to reach out to whites who are skeptical about him? But at the same time, but he's not reached out to the Hispanics. The one thing he's done, I think, very effectively is that he is the candidate of change.
There you go.
And if you think about
and
it,
those are the Bernie Sanders voters who are looking at maybe Jill Stein and Johnson. Maybe that's it. Maybe they want it. I got to go, guys. I'm sorry, I ran out of time. Arne and Caitlin, thank you very much. Directly ahead, Bill O'Reilly squares off with Donald Trump over his presidential debate performance and his game plan for victory in November. Don't miss it. In the personal story segment tonight, Donald Trump in the no-spin zone. Before speaking at a rally in Wisconsin earlier this week, Trump faced off with Bill O'Reilly over his presidential debate performance, moderator Lester Holt, and how he'll deal with Hillary Clinton leading up to the next big debate showdown.
Is there anything Hillary Clinton said in the debate that you will use, your campaign will use against her in the weeks ahead?
I think there is, and I'll tell you what really happened during the debate that was very interesting to me. I saw when she's talking about what she's going to do and how she's going to do it and all of this, I realized she's been doing this for 26 to 30 years and nothing ever gets done. Even when she went to the United States Senate representing New York, she said she was going to bring jobs back to New York, and it was a disaster. Upstate New York is a total disaster. But as she was talking about the various things, and I started to say, wait a minute, Hillary, you've been there for 26 years and you haven't done it. Why all of a sudden are you going to do it? You're not going to do it. It's just you're going to get votes, and then after the votes, it's going to be see you later. I'll see you in 4 years or whatever.
When she was senator of New York, you were friendly with her, though. We look back, you weren't real critical of Hillary Clinton at the time.
Bill, I was a businessman. I was all over the world. I was doing great. And frankly, I got along with all politicians. It was my job to get along with politicians. And, you know, I don't think about it now. I think about it, but I always got along with politicians. It was a very important aspect of my business.
And those of us who know Manhattan know that's true. Now, they're going to come after you, they being the Clinton campaign, on the statement that you made that you were smart for paying as few taxes as you could possibly pay. You know that's going to be in the next debate. It's going to be on campaign ads. Do you have any defense for that right now?
No, I didn't say that. What she said is maybe you paid no taxes. I said, well, that would make me very smart.
Right.
And I have to tell you something. Tax is a big expense. And I would mind paying taxes a lot less if our politicians knew how to spend the money, but they don't. I see the other day a report come out, $6 trillion, $6 trillion spent on the Middle East. We could have rebuilt our country twice.
Now, the other avenue they're going to come after you is the women card, all right? And they're going to say that you're a mean guy and you don't respect women. Do you have anything further to say on this Miss Universe thing?
No, not much. I mean, look, I hardly know this person. This is a person 20 years ago. She did not do well. She had a lot of difficulties. And, you know, they wanted to fire her. The company itself wanted to fire her. I saved her job. Look what I get out of it. I get nothing. A lot of things are coming out about her. I really just don't know her.
Do you think that was a cheap shot by Secretary Clinton to bring that up?
Well, I think it was, and now a lot of things are coming out that I wasn't aware of, like they say that she threatened the life of a judge, and they got involved in all sorts of problems, and if that turns out to be true, a lot of the things that are turning out to be perhaps true, I think it's going to make Hillary look extremely bad.
Do you believe that you have to do better among women, American women, to win the election, or do you believe you have enough support now?
Well, I think I'm doing well, and I have been doing well with, especially with married women. You saw the numbers. I mean, they went way up. Hillary has spent over $200 million on ads against me. Many of those ads are false. They're vicious and they're false.
Now, I'm asking you to grade Lester Holt, the debate moderator. A is best, F is worst. You say?
Now, C. You know, when I first did it, I thought he was fine. I wasn't thinking about it. But when I reviewed it and when I saw all the commentary, because a lot of people thought he was terrible, and I looked at all of the commentary, I realized he was much, much tougher on me than he was on Hillary. It was like a day and night. And then he started, you know, he hits me with the birther question, of course, and he likes to correct things that where I happen to be right, like we talked about stop and frisk, and he was 100% wrong. But in the meantime, I had to go and prove the point. And it turned out that I was right.
He interrupted you 41 times and interrupted Hillary Clinton 7 times.
I think he did.
That's more than I interrupt you, by the way. That's more than I do.
He was worse than you.
Yeah,
I agree.
and really, that's bad. Charlotte, North Carolina, the guy who was shot dead served 6 years in a Texas penitentiary for shooting another guy. That was not reported. I have said that The protests are fine. If you believe that the police are not fair to African Americans, you should protest. However, in individual cases, we should all wait until all the data comes in, all the facts are in. You agree with that, correct?
Yeah, I do. I always agree on waiting and trying to get the information before you make a
then
judgment.
Why did you not? Then why did you not say to Hillary Clinton, "Hey, you jumped the gun by saying that this is deplorable, it's terrible, we have to solve this police problem"? Why didn't you go after her on that?
Well, because I had many other things that I did go after, and a lot of people, you know, the whole evening was an interesting evening. A lot of people liked what I said about her, and frankly, it was pretty tough what I said about her. You can't hit every single point.
No, but you're the law and order candidate.
You know, answer.
Right.
It's called answer in 30 seconds, but I thought her answer having to do with the police was very, very disrespectful to the police. She was petrified to talk about them in a positive way, and I thought, frankly, that was a disgrace.
I thought you were going to bring that out.
I think it was a very disrespectful, well, I thought it was a very disrespectful answer to the police. There's no question about it. But you know, you can only say so much in 22 seconds.
I got it, but I was surprised because the law and order thing got into the stop and frisk, and I thought the cops are going to come up. You got 2 more shots. And she's got 2 more shots at you, and we always appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
In the wake of this week's first presidential debate, the stakes just got higher for the next 2, not to mention the vice presidential debate just 3 days away. Ed Henry joins us with a special preview right after this. Thanks for staying with us for this special edition of the O'Reilly Factor Election 2016. I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly, and in the Factor follow-up segment tonight, the presidential debates. The first one is in the bag. The first and only vice presidential debate is just 3 days away, and the remaining 2 presidential face-offs could not be more critical for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Joining us now to analyze, Fox News Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry. Ed, let's start with... well, we talked about the presidential debates. Let's talk about the VP debates. I mean, what do you expect out of that? Two kind of low-key guys?
Yeah, and they're more policy-based, and I think there'll be less of the personal attacks. Out on the road, you hear a lot of people in both parties saying, you know, if you flip these tickets, it'd be a lot less of a circus and a lot more serious talk about policy. I mean, both of these people, I think Mike Pence and Tim Kaine, both of them show that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have pretty good judgment in terms of picking people. In both cases, they've helped the base a little bit, but also they've been out there, they've been good surrogates, but they haven't been what you normally see from VP, which is the attack dog, the red meat. And you know why? Because the top of the ticket is doing all of that. They are attacking the heck out of each other. They don't need the number 2 to do it. So how could it be any tougher, any nastier than we see at the top?
Ed, we're so used to the attacks. If we sit down for a policy debate with the VPs, we might all fall asleep.
People everyone's going to fall asleep.
Yeah, so you don't think
it could end up being a surprise. I think expectations are so low for the VP debate that maybe something interesting will happen. But the truth of the matter is, everybody in both parties, senior officials, tell me they're waiting for the second presidential debate. That's the main event.
You know, and is there going to be any changes? I'd assume Hillary Clinton wants to do the same thing because she feels like she did a good job.
For her. I was talking to some people very close to Donald Trump today who say, look, where they think they scored very well is obviously the first 20, 30 minutes on the message of you've been at it for 30 years, you're all talk, no action. Hillary Clinton, when you go back and look at the tape, had no real answer to that. And it's a mystery as to why Donald Trump moved off of that, number 1. Number 2, I've heard from one person inside Donald Trump's camp that a line of attack they were planning to use, but he didn't use for whatever reason.
Why not?
Maybe he forgot. Maybe there was a lot happening. People close to Trump say that Lester Holt kept driving it into tax returns and other issues, so he couldn't go to this other issue I'm going to tell you about that he really wanted to do, which was how Hillary Clinton made all this money in public service.
Remember the big thing when Hillary Clinton brought up Elisa Machado.
Yeah.
Lester Holt asked him a different question. She said, Donald Trump, you've called her, she commented about her looks. She didn't look presidential.
Right.
He commented, and then she took it and she flipped it.
And that's where Donald Trump has to learn something between the first and second debates. You put your finger right on it, which is that all of this talk about Lester Holt is a distraction. If he asks you about your tax returns, you can pivot to anything you want. What I hear inside the Trump camp is some line of attack he wanted to use but did not is, how did she leave the White House saying we're flat broke, then make tens of millions of dollars, speeches, books, the foundation, all of this stuff. And meanwhile, the Clintons are attacking Donald Trump for making money as a businessman when they've both been in public service making tons of cash. That was a line of attack left not on the table, but under the table somewhere. And Donald Trump's got to bring that in.
Debate 101. Answer the question you're asked in one sentence and spend
move
the
on
next
to something
90
else.
seconds on whatever
Hillary
you want to
Clinton was
talk about.
much more effective at that. But look, Donald Trump is a businessman who's been through all kinds of pitfalls, bankruptcies, and has always come back. People have counted him out. Let's not forget, in 2012, who won the first debate? Mitt Romney. And then he's got his clock clean later. So the first debate might not matter.
Newt said don't bring up the indiscretions of Bill Clinton. Newt said don't do it.
Donald
if
Trump
he's
has
not
to
winning in the polls, if it's not turning for him, does he do that?
If he makes this even nastier and then it becomes boomerang on Donald Trump, it's a race about him. He only wins this race. When you talk to people in both parties, they tell me privately, Donald Trump wins this race if it's about Hillary Clinton. If it's about him, he's more likely to lose. Meaning, look at her record, Syria, Benghazi, all the foreign policy problems and challenges, and the fact that, again, on the domestic front and overall leadership, when asked, what have you done for 30 years beyond give speeches, she had no good answer.
Tell you what,
so,
3 days, we have a VP debate. 10 days, we have a presidential debate. 10 days after that, another presidential debate. Boom, boom, boom. This thing is in the next 23 days. That's where the sweet spot is.
Get the seatbelt ready.
Get the seatbelt ready. Thank you very much,
seeing
Ed. Up ahead, Geraldo Rivera opines on the mainstream media's hysteria over Donald Trump this week. My blood pressure might reach dangerously high levels. I'll go away. In the Back of the Book segment tonight, the reason I took a triple dose of blood pressure medicine today, Mr. Geraldo Rivera. He joins us now. Geraldo, first let's talk about the USA Today. The newspaper has a policy of non-endorsing candidates that came out today in their history. They've never done it before. But today they decided to say, you know what, we're not going to endorse, but we're going to tell you don't vote for Donald Trump. Thoughts?
Well, it's not just the USA Today. You have the Arizona Republic.
Also owned by Gannett, for the record.
Dallas Morning News, San Diego Union Tribune, Cincinnati Inquirer. I think sometimes you live in a bubble and don't realize how much of the Republican establishment has rejected Donald Trump. And it seems to be growing. Every time he does one of these outrageous stunts, like the Miss Universe in the last debate, he loses more of the establishment, I believe. You know, one of the things, like Republicans, New York Republicans.
Establishment, Geraldo? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like George H.W. Bush, Mitt Romney.
He hasn't had the establishments for 15 months now. They're
something is
troopers.
motivating these editorial boards to take a position.
You know,
about
Donald Trump says they're losing subscribers. He said
you lose a couple
last-ditch effort to get people interested.
You lose a couple here or there. Even look at the Chicago Tribune. I was at the Tribune Company for like 12 years. Tribune Company is the solid rock of the Republican establishment. They didn't go so far as to endorse Hillary Clinton. They endorsed Gary Johnson, who can't even name one foreign leader.
The day after, he couldn't name one foreign leader. Who is that? That's the Wrigley family or Ricketts? Who owns a tribute? Anyway, the point is, the day after, he can't name one single foreign leader that he looks up to. 10, 20 days after he says, what is Aleppo? They come out and endorse
Gary Johnson. Exactly. Detroit News also, the same thing. Because Donald Trump, in his intemperance, really is giving a lot of people the vibe that he is unsuitable to have the nuclear codes. It is. You can't start tweeting at 3 in the morning.
Don't endorse
because
anybody,
you're
but
angry.
Gary Johnson, you really want that guy with the nuclear codes?
I wouldn't endorse Gary Johnson to be the mayor of Hoboken. You know, it's just, it is what it is. The fact is that Donald Trump is not attracting people who traditionally would buttress the socially conservative
editorial boards
Republicans.
are making a statement. That's all they're doing.
They're
not legitimately endorsing anybody.
You can suggest that editorials don't mean anything, but after a while they start to mean something.
Let's talk a little bit about Howard Dean, who tweeted that, for whatever reason, decided to tweet post-debate that Donald Trump may have had alluded to the fact he may have had a coke problem. That's why I was sniffling during the debate.
Everybody noticed Donald Trump sniffing. I think Howard Dean's the only person that went to that outrageous, unsubstantiated, wild, and very hurtful rumor. And today, I think you were right. I heard you with Mark Cuban, excellent interview. You were right. There were audio problems. The debate commission has admitted today that there was something wrong with his microphone. I think they had it jacked up too high, and that's why you could hear him breathing in a way that was unnatural. But for Howard Dean to say that,
and he doubled down on MSNBC saying it.
It's totally jerky.
Then today he said he apologized for innuendo. Was it innuendo when he accused him of?
I think that it was immature. He should be ashamed of himself, and it was really unnecessary.
All right, let's get to Alicia Machado.
But that's what I mean. Alicia Machado. She set him up. Hillary Clinton absolutely set him up. He could have handled that with ease. He could have said to her, you want to talk about Miss Universe from 20 years ago, when look at the Middle East, there are 300,000 dead Syrians thanks to your administration. Libya, you got rid of Gaddafi and now it's a mess in North Africa. And you want to talk about Miss Universe? Madam Secretary, I submit to you that that's what's wrong with your candidacy and your party, that you're missing the point. But what did he do instead? He went to sleep with a chip on his shoulder. He got up, he starts tweeting, seeming to fuel that whole notion of intemperance.
When Mitt Romney was fact-checked by Candy Crowley in the debate, the third debate, and he didn't have it there. He didn't have it in his back pocket. He wasn't ready to come back and say, no, you're wrong. I'm right on this issue. Donald Trump, why didn't he have it there? Why didn't he go back to her and say, this is not what the question was.
Because
it had nothing to do with the question.
He was unprepared. He was unprepared. You can't wing it. Sometimes you just can't wing it. Even you come on the show, I'm here talking to you 3-4 minutes. You read, you do background, you check things out, you try to put things in perspective, you learn what the issue is. You don't just wing it on basic knowledge. He thinks because he's charismatic, and I love the guy. You know, I've known him forever. And I'm so proud of his the way he advanced through the Republican primary process. But you can't.
You change? If you're Donald Trump, do you change?
You have to. You have
get more
today,
aggressive?
Today, for instance, he was in Michigan. He read a teleprompter speech, thank God. He should just do that, and he should
can't
really
do that in the debate, though.
But you sit with really experts. You sit with someone who plays the role of Hillary Clinton. She's going to ask you about how could he not be prepared for birtherism? How could he not be prepared for
I'll give you a football analogy. I got to go, but I'll give you the football. He played Prevent D. He played Prevent D for the whole debate. Maybe he's got to come out with the West Coast offense, throw some bombs in there.
He played wing it.
Got to go, Geraldo. Thank you very much. Bill will be back on Monday with analysis of where Donald Trump stands in the election. And I want to congratulate Bill. His book, Killing the Rising Sun, is #1 on every single bestseller list around the world and has already 1.3 million copies in print, which is unheard of in the publishing world. And after picking up Bill's book, you can also check out my book, Wake Up America. But when we come back, thank you, Jesse Waters wreaking havoc at the presidential debate, a sneak peek of a Saturday Waters world you absolutely won't want to miss. Moments away. And before we go tonight, I've cleared my Saturday evening schedule for just one reason, an all-new episode of Waters World. Waters didn't miss his golden opportunity to go to Monday's presidential debate and rattle plenty of cages.
David, why did Hillary go so negative right from the jump?
She didn't go so negative. I mean,
she did with trickle down and trumped up.
This is an election. It's a contrast, okay?
Does that seem like something you'd do if you were a front runner, go so negative so fast from the get-go?
Elections are contrasts, okay?
Well, that episode airs Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern right here on FNC. Don't miss it. Also, there's a brand new Contributing Factor podcast up today featuring new information on the Wounded Warrior Project scandal. You can find that on BillO'Reilly.com and iTunes. Be sure to check that one out. It's a very, very good one. That's it for us tonight. Thanks for watching this special edition of the O'Reilly Factor, Election 2016. I'm Eric Bolling in for Bill O'Reilly, who will be back on Monday with powerful analysis of where Trump stands with his matchup with Hillary Clinton. Please remember the spin stops right here because we're looking out for you.